Ah,
There we
it's now
go.
live.
Yeah.
Excellent. There you go.
Uh-huh.
Nice big flashy button. Great.
Officially recording.
That's wow. Welcome to the world, everybody.
Because that
um,
was not bad at all. You have all these options available for free. I mean,
yeah, it's
imagine,
good,
and
isn't it? It's
Mhm.
actually to
everyone called.
connect everything up together is really quite neat.
The more important thing is that everyone keeps talking about data and everything. But if these guys are doing so much, I don't mind giving them some data for advertising. I have no issue with that.
Quite. Yeah, exactly right.
I mean, they need
So,
to earn something. Yeah.
do you want me to say something,
Yeah.
Vikram?
Please, Will, you
That's
can go
fine.
ahead.
I
You can.
don't mind. It's all right. It's
You
fine.
please go ahead. I'm sorry to stop you there, but I just
Not
wanted
at all.
everyone to
I
hear
just
your.
don't want to jump in, of course, if you're in the middle of something. It's all
No.
right. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, hello again. I'm Will. I run Mediator Network, and we are. Vikram and I have been doing lots of things together. So Vikram's a fantastic chat. So very delighted to finally join one of these sessions, actually. So and I've heard a lot of good things about them. But we work with a lot of mediators all over the world doing various things, and so this series is of great interest to me. We did something called International Mediation Awareness Week in November last year. We launched that. So if anyone's interested in being part of that, talk to Vikram, talk to myself, and we can talk to you more about that, give you some information. But that's really about. Vikram is doing a fantastic job of pushing out mediation as far and as wide as possible, and that's where we sort of have some synergies really, because we are both very passionate, and it seems like people on the call today are just as passionate about getting
Absolutely.
media out there. Yeah,
But
brilliant.
just the fact that, like I told you, Sarah is up at 10 o'clock and she has early morning. Just the fact that everyone's out there wanting to. I think main thing is to be able to get everyone together to have conversations. The important thing is the conversations.
Absolutely.
So I think the point. I think the only issue is here is the fact that which direction we want to take this, and I want everyone to collaborate and actually get work. I mean, not just collaborate to meet each other and say nice things, but to expand the whole concept. So that's why
Yep.
I've been saying that we have to have a mediator sitting when every contract is being negotiated. There should be a mediator sitting there. Let's expand that part. Every project should have one. And I think we just get people to get some work. And after that, obviously, then you have the Ken Cloak concept of doing the larger things. So I think that part of it will happen once everyone has their work happening. So, Kathleen, now only thing here is that we have to start before I start, we have Chile from Chile. Jimena. Hi.
Yeah, hello, Vikram. I'm with really bad internet now.
But
So,
but what about your
yeah,
pictures of your holiday? Those pictures haven't come yet.
I will send them to you next Saturday. But I'm now without internet at home, so I'm using my phone internet, and it's very poor. So
Okay.
excuses for camera now.
Yeah. So many people from all over the world want to say hi to you, and you don't want to show them your face. That is sad.
Well, I will share a little bit if it's possible.
Okay. No issue at all.
Is it here? Here.
It's almost there. Yeah. So nice place
Yeah.
you're sitting in.
Summertime.
I was worried.
It's summertime here, you know. It's beautiful.
Fantastic. I was worried you were just basically having a bad hair day or something. And
you want me to show you, Will? I have
into showing your face.
I have a photograph.
He pushes a lot, no?
Yeah.
No, I have Kathleen's photograph. She was in a webinar and she sent us her photograph while she was getting her hair done. And she attended that webinar with her hair being done. Kathleen, I can share that. We can start with that.
That's great.
You tell me. I have that. I can put it up.
It's a true story.
Not in this moment, because I'm really with my children and all the family together. So yeah, it's not the best moment now.
Not for you. There's Kathleen's hair being done, not yours.
Yeah, of course. Hello, Kathleen.
Oh, good morning to all. It's nice to see your lovely summer view behind you as well.
Yeah, it is.
Those of us here in snow.
But what time is it, Jimena? Jimena, what time is it?
11 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so Brazil and you share the same time, is it?
Yeah, it depends on the city we are in Brazil.
Okay. Because I know that there was Andrea who was obviously sitting at 11 o'clock at the same time, so that's why.
Yeah.
Okay. What I will do is, Kathleen, maybe what I will do is start with what I would call the actual start of things. That is where I want to start with things.
Aw.
Oh, yeah.
My mother and my sister. I'm on the right side of the picture. My sister and I are 13 months apart. My mother's name is Charlotte. I was 3 there, and my sister was 2. We still remember that day going into the photographer's studio in Utica, New York State, USA.
Nice.
Yeah, there was these amazing brass elevators that opened up and closed, and the smell of the older building, and the photographer's lights and the backdrop and all of that. And that's one of the pictures he captured.
You can actually go back to that time, yeah.
Yeah.
But what was it like? What was the US at that time? What was it like?
It was simple. It's, in the late 50s, early 60s, and life was simple, and butterflies and meadows and people that cared about each other, and cows and animals and birds.
Chicken. You have to mention the chicken also.
I raised chickens like Ken Cloak did. I raised 50 peeps in my bedroom when I was a teenager.
But Kathleen, you know that everywhere in the world, all these mediators started raising chicken now after Ken Cloak came in.
Yeah, he's quite the amazing person to listen to. You've had some amazing talks, Vikram. We're so grateful for it.
No, it's been nice. It's been actually been very enjoyable. Yeah. So you were telling us about the US at that time. What?
It was simple and easy, and the outdoors was our playground. The way that our mother raised us, there's swings and tree forts, and walking down to the pond to see the cows, walk through the mud to the pond, and.
But which part are we at? Which part of the US are we?
Near Syracuse, New York, kind of the middle of New York State, way above New York City, right where New York State starts to branch off and go up to Lake Placid and Lake George. It's very rural in upstate New York, and Syracuse is kind of where that begins.
But what does it look like now?
That whole area, Route 5, Syracuse, Rome, New York, it's always been a bit depressed. So it hasn't changed a lot. I go back for my high school reunions, and there's not much that's different.
Okay, that's not bad. It's not bad at all. But you were going to tell us about your mother, and what was it like?
She was an amazing woman, because we were soldering and making walkie-talkies when I was 4 years old. She taught us how to solder and put walkie-talkies together, and then she would teach us how to catch butterflies and look at them inside the jar and then let them go. And she was amazing. She had her master's degree from Syracuse University. She played basketball at UConn, University of Connecticut. She was a good athlete. And she was a bit of a curious person, and always starting projects and teaching us things. And she ended up starting the relaxation movement with Power On, Power Off with Dr. Jacobson in New York City.
Tell us more about that. Yeah, I mean, I would not know. A lot of us would not know.
Stress relief program started back with my mother back in the early 60s. It was either get her PhD at Syracuse University or do this internship with Dr. Jacobson. So she piled all 5 of her children into a station wagon from Syracuse, New York area, and would drive us down to New York City. And she would have this radio talk show with Dr. Jacobson about relieving stress and getting stress out of the body, and how to turn off one part of the body at a time. By the time I was a high school student, all of us were going to lunch and stuffing our face for 5 minutes, and then running to the gymnasium where she was conducting her Power On, Power Off program, and we would all fall asleep on the gymnasium floor.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, she was quite the woman, my mother.
Yeah. What about your sister? But do we have? I thought you were going to call her. You were not going to call her?
I asked everyone if they would like to participate, and they said that I've got it. They would listen to the recording after I was done.
It would have been nice to get their perspective also. Look, I mean, someone's growing up, a lot of things happen. they look at things differently, you look at things differently. Because look, you know what the whole concept is. The whole idea is to kind of that thread between people. Is there something common there, except the chicken? Is there something else more to it? So at least something. It was the whole idea was that, but doesn't matter. This hasn't happened earlier. Only I think Yemi is here. I think he obviously got some people last time, so I think that was good. But what about your father?
My father and my mother had a very short marriage, and my father went on to be quite the military figure, working in the Pentagon, wargaming, developing strategies, and ended his career with strategic wargaming for our first Gulf War. Where, not that anyone's proud of war, but if you remember in that first Gulf War, we had very few casualties.
You don't know. I think we don't know. You have to tell us about that. These are things that you know about.
My father was at the top secret level, and secret clearance. That's his high school picture, college picture, excuse me. And so he didn't say much about that. But my father was the action officer for the Joint Chiefs of Staff for 3 presidents. So that meant that the Joint Chiefs would decide what kind of action they would take, and it was my father's job to implement it. So he worked between the presidents and the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Department of Defense.
That you've gone way ahead. I mean, that was him.
So what happened with our father, since my father and mother had such a short marriage, I remember my father leaving when I was about 2 or 3-ish. I remember him leaving, walking down the sidewalk. I have this memory. I remember walking myself down there and throwing myself around his legs, kind of thing, as a little person would do.
But after that, you've been in touch. You've been in touch, or you haven't been in touch?
It was a long time before we were in touch again. Our mother kept us, up in Syracuse, and our father was traveling the world doing his job. So it was a very long time before we were reunited in a particular fashion where we were, communicating all the time. He remarried several times, and my mother remarried about 2 years later. So it was a very long time.
But finally, when did you actually meet him? What age did you meet him finally?
We started in touch when I became married again and had children of my own.
So there was a major gap in between.
It was a very big gap. I was very busy living life, and my sister and I were athletes. I played high school ball, college ball as well, and just living life, and married at 23. So my life was always very full.
No, but what is it like? I mean, you've met your father after that many years. What is it like?
It was shocking, Vikram. The first thing that was important to me, were how does my father look now? He had aged, working so hard. He was a Marine Corps eventually, a full bird colonel most of his career, and then at the very end, he became a 1-star general. So he was aged, and it was a little hard to see him. And then he actually passed away at 62 in 1996. He worked very, very hard and led a hard life. So it was a reconnection, and I'm the oldest of 5, my mom's family. So my sister was with me, Maureen. I'm Kathleen, she's Maureen. Our father named us. And they had a great connection, and I kind of sat back and watched their connection. I really liked it. She had a photographic memory like he did, and their minds were a lot alike. And I really enjoyed their relationship. She wasn't married. She didn't have any children. I had children in a family. So I really more so enjoyed their relationship.
But what is it like? I mean, look, obviously I would not know. What is it like not having the father there when you're growing up?
What happened was, because we were so young, we thought that the father that my mother married, her second marriage, was our father. And we didn't learn for many years that he was not, that he was, a stepfather, adopted father figure. So, in my 30s when that happened, it was quite, and to deal with it in a loving, kind way was his goal. My sister and I did.
But Kathleen, we did miss some part of it because you were in a place where the signal is not so good. But is there a better place that you can move to where the signal is better?
Sorry. I thought this was going to be the best.
No, I'm sure there's a better place, because I think last time we had a conversation, you were at a place where the signal was better.
Right back.
But up till the time she comes back, I have started another series, which normally I do these things on Wednesdays, called In Conversation with a Beautiful Mind. So the first one has happened. The video is on my YouTube channel. Very nice person, Stefan, good soul. So he's there. You can have a look at that. The whole idea there was, obviously, this is more into the evolution part. That is more about getting to know the person and the other things that they are doing. Not so much about getting into the background, more about the work that they're doing. So please have a look at that. Yes, Kathleen. Signal is going to be a problem, I think.
I had to open the door.
Yeah, now it's better. Yeah. Yep. So there are bars at the bottom which show the signal. So now we've gone back to red.
Good.
We'll have to see a frozen face for some time.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but the face will get frozen.
Me?
Yep.
Well, here in Tacoma, and our signal, let's try this, see if this works. Hang on.
Relax. We have enough time. We can have everyone else. But one thing, please, everyone, just there is a virtual hand there. Please, anytime you want to say anything, just put that virtual hand up, and we'll. So your signal is going to become an issue.
Hello. Is that working, Vikram?
Yeah, you can hear you, but in breaks actually. Well, I'm looking at the signal bar at the bottom. The signal bar at the bottom shows me red, which means there is a bit of an issue there. Look, we live a privileged life in India. We have very good signal here. So here we don't have that issue. At least I'm in the sense I'm privileged. And most of the country does get the mobile signals. So I think that way it's okay. So someone wants to raise their hand, say something by the time she comes back. Gilbert, please unmute yourself. Hi, Gilbert.
Hello. Hi. It's 3:00 p.m. in Luxembourg. We have 16 degrees, summer-like weather. The spring is coming.
I tell you what.
Beautiful.
I'll have you talk to Ruane. Ruane is in Texas right now, not in Texas, but he's from Texas, and there they had snow, which doesn't happen normally.
Normally not, yes.
Yes, Ruane, why don't you tell us about that?
Long story short, we've got a polar vortex ripping through basically the entire central United States from almost literally border to border. It got down to about minus 20 degrees Celsius in San Antonio, which is basically a desert. So that's entirely unheard of. My mother and brother were without power for about 3 days. Wow. And then in northern Texas, where that type of weather can be a bit more common, at least maybe one snow dusting a year, my aunt and cousins have been without power for nearly a week. For those of you who don't know, the US is on 3 different power grids. You have the Western federal grid, the Eastern federal grid, and then Texas has its own. And the Texas grid simply isn't accustomed to handling this sort of stress, especially this time of year.
But what about the heating? Heating must have been an issue.
I beg your pardon?
Heating must have been a problem if that kind of weather and no electricity.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Most people, with my mother, she's literally just bundled up with blankets and the cat. Wow. But thankfully she got power back after, I think it was 3 days. But yeah, I think it's something like 50 people have been found in their homes having either unfortunately frozen to death, or they try to warm up in their vehicles, but then they don't leave their garage open. And there's been, I think, a dozen cases of carbon monoxide poisonings, unfortunately. So it's just not something that people down there are prepared for.
But Ryan, this sounds like a news channel right now. We'll have to cut you off because Kathleen is back. Okay. Yeah, because I don't watch the news, but it's the only news I've got for some time now. Yes, Kathleen, you're okay.
Hello.
Things better now?
I'm on my cell phone. That's why we have technology.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
So where did I cut you off?
We were talking about my father and how when the secret came dashing out of our family, everyone handled it. And we just moved on, and I was enjoying the relationship that my sister and him had because they were very much alike. And I was the oldest of, everyone, and I've always felt responsible as the older sibling to make sure that everybody else was okay.
I think
So
the
I made
point
sure.
where the signal went off when you were talking about the fact that you met him after that long. That part of it, I
Mhm.
missed that part.
Well, my main interest was, did I look like my father? And did he look like me? And
You want me to put
that's the
that
first.
photograph up again?
Yeah, we can do that. I don't know if we look
Which one do you
alike.
want, the young one or the old one?
I like the one because he was so imposing.
You
Fortunately,
don't
I
want.
inherited his courage and his fortitude.
I mean, this
So
is what you wanted to look like. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't come off it. You don't want to look like that. Don't scare us.
see how imposing he is? Yeah. So it was
You
we got
scare
to a
me. If you were
point.
on the show looking like this, I would get scared. I mean, what do I ask her? Should I ask her anything at all?
Mhm. Yeah.
But
He
that's a
was
lot of
quite.
medals. There's a lot of medals on him.
Mhm. He deserved them. There's wonderful stories about my father leading men into battle in Vietnam and not losing one, and coming back with everyone intact. He was very smart, and we're very proud of his
But you get to
career.
know this only when you meet him later. That's the time you get to know
Mhm.
about all this. Obviously,
Yeah,
you were not in touch.
yeah.
But what were his stories about Vietnam? I'm sure he had interesting stories about Vietnam.
That level of clearance, they don't say too many stories, and that was only one of the few that we got out of our father. It was mostly a lot of conversation in the beginning about our mother and him and the relationship and all of that. It was a
But
very moving time for sure.
no, when he looked back and he said what happened at that age and when he moved out and all, you talk about that?
We did. And he said that our mother was the best woman that ever loved him. And we were
And that's
like,
why he
of
moved out.
course.
That's why he left, is it?
No, he didn't realize it until later that he had really already been with the best woman.
Okay,
So,
otherwise, it'd be a little shocking that he had to
the
move out because she
lessons of
loved him too
life.
much.
The lessons of life. He went on and he joined the Marines, and that's what happened.
But he didn't want to come back after he realized that your mother was the best person for him. He didn't want to come back.
Well, he remarried several times. So he
That
was
was okay for
always.
him. Coming back was okay for him. It wasn't such an issue.
My mother married, and she stayed married to that second husband, and so they both split off
Okay.
to lead their own lives. Yes.
Okay. But what about your mother now? I thought you'll call her also.
My mother now is still doing everything that she always has. She's creating and she's painting and she's making quilts, and her work has won several awards at the New York State Fair in the past. She's she's in her upper 80s now, and so she's becoming more fragile as time goes on. And her husband is also 6 years older, so he's in his early 90s.
Wow.
And so just the fragility of life, and they're living it together, and you want to find that good partner that you want to live out your life with as an elderly person, and they've managed to do that.
But where are they staying?
The same place. Yeah, it is very interesting, and they're still, in Syracuse, New York area, on that gentleman's farm of about 19 acres where I was raised. From about 5th grade forward, I was raised on a gentleman's farm. Up in the morning, 4 o'clock, pails of water for cows and chickens and ducks and geese and pigs and rabbits.
Not
And
bad
a
at all.
garden and fruit trees. Yeah, all of it. We did all of it, my mom.
Why are you not living there now? I mean, if the farm is there, everything's there, you should go there. It's such a nice place to live in, I'm sure.
I went away to college and never came back.
What did that teach you? Tell us. Tell us what that taught you.
Going away to college?
Yeah. Did it teach you anything, or did the farm teach you everything?
Oh, different lessons teaching me everything differently.
So you have to tell us about that. That you have to tell us about college. Where did college happen?
I was recruited to play basketball in a small school, Morrisville Agricultural and Technical, which is up near Colgate. which is a very famous university, Colgate University in New York State. And I broke my ankle my first game. I scored 12 points and then broke my ankle playing basketball. So I went home the next year and coached with my mother. And I actually went to Syracuse University for coaching clinics. And Bobby Knight, famous basketball coach, and John Wooden were across the hall from each other. John Wooden is another famous basketball coach from UCLA. Bobby Knight coached at Navy and in Indiana. And I learned to be a very good basketball coach. So I ended up enjoying coaching more than I ended up enjoying playing. So I ended up coaching high school basketball. And then eventually I went to college down in West Virginia, became a teacher, high school health teacher for 23 years. And
Kathleen, what you're doing is you're rushing through life like that, as if it's just, it took one day to go through everything. These are years we're talking about. Nothing. You have to tell us what was happening at that time. Look, this is an evolution of the person, the mediator, everything. Those aspects you have to tell us. You want to give us one. This is not like one of those highlight kind of things that you have to tell us more about.
College was interesting. You know, I come from a legacy of pastors, preachers, and teachers. So teaching was, it was just natural for me. So I became an educator, kindergarten through 12th grade, educator, health educator, physical education educator. And I played sports. I went to college on tuition with athletics like my family is. My mother's side of the family is the Arthur side of the family. And everyone was good at sports as well.
I think with you, we really needed all those people there, because you're not going to tell us anything about what you were going through. We have to go back again. I think we'll go back to the 3-year-old. I think we have to go back there and start from there again. What was that 3-year-old? What do you remember of that time?
We were fascinated. My sister and I played together. We were fascinated with nature, and we would spend hours and hours and hours outside building forts, setting off traps for animals because we didn't want to see them in the trap. So we would set the traps off with a stick. And we lived next to the thruway, the New York State thruway. We would dash across the thruway when there were no cars. And then off to the fields, hours and hours, Vikram. Every day, it was hours of play. And that's the kind of life I led as a
Sarah's
3-year-old.
leaving. Okay, Sarah's leaving. She's saying bye because she has early morning.
Sarah. Hours of play, hours and hours of the creativity of building forts and adventure. Every day was an adventure. Even with school, went to a Catholic elementary school, and when I would come home from school, it was another adventure. My whole childhood was all about adventure. Outside.
Fun, but how can you skip from 3-year-old straight to your high school? We have to. There's life in between. We have to look at what was happening at that point of time. Yeah,
kindergarten was my favorite teacher, Mrs. Spadilla. I'll never forget her. She made me feel so special. She was always giving compliments. In kindergarten back then, you had to take a full hour's nap on a cot in school. Nice. I was not a child that wanted to lay on a cot for an hour. So I would invent all these reasons why I had to go to the bathroom. And she wouldn't believe me. So she would leave the door open partway and listen if I was actually really going to the bathroom or not. And then in kindergarten, she read us a book, and we all about 4-leaf clovers, and we all went outside trying to find 4-leaf clovers in the grass. And I remember being very disappointed that I couldn't find one, so I broke off a petal from another 3-leaf clover and put together with my 3-leaf clover, and now I had a 4-leaf clover.
But have you ever found one? We keep talking about
I have
this.
For real.
Yeah?
I have for real, yes. I found it twice, a 4-leaf clover twice. It was pretty amazing.
Not bad. But then you've kept it or not?
No, they dry up after a while.
It should be nice. It should look nice dried up.
Yeah. Well,
but they tell us what the relationship with the animals. Look, Ken had such a nice horse that he used to roam around in. What about your relationship with the animals there?
We had a horse, Dusty, across the street. When Ken was talking, I was reliving Dusty across the street when I was in middle school. And my sister and I would jump on Dusty. Both of us would ride her bareback, but we would have to lead her to something we could step on like a big rock, and then we would jump on her back, hold on to her, and my sister would hold on to me, and then we were off.
This
And
is like
she
one.
mostly walked. She didn't run too much. She was older. She was almost 30, so she mostly walked. Yeah.
No, because that's time when we were discussing the aspect of the relationship with the animal seems to be an important aspect of the whole thing.
When you take care of animals, it's about discipline, it's about nurture, and the two kind of exist side by side. You're feeding them, you're making sure they don't get hurt, but every day, twice a day, it's a discipline. As it relates to mediation, it teaches you to stay in the box, stay with the process of mediation, and that discipline carries over, into mediation.
But what happens, Kathleen? What happens when you're raising some chicken and you have to eat them the same day? What happens there?
You feel sad because back in those days they were slaughtering at their own, farm location, chickens and the rabbits and ducks, and there was a process for that. And if you were the one doing the process, you had to strengthen your determination and carry through, because everyone has to eat was kind of, an important issue as well. So you accepted that there were some animals you had to say goodbye to.
But how does a young Kathleen handle that? How does she understand that?
I was 5th grade, and when we moved to that gentleman's farm, and it was just a way of life, so everyone understood it.
Must have been quite a
somehow, some way, the anguish, you had to put that somewhere, and also you wanted to make that up very quick. You didn't want that animal to suffer. So
well, it must be. I mean, I'm just thinking that you're playing with that chicken in the morning and eating it in the night.
It wasn't quite that fast, and but yeah, eventually, every once in a while you had to do that. The New Zealand whites as well. Everything was raised for consumption somehow, some way. Even the garden, even the fruit trees, everything was raised for consumption, and it was just a matter of fact. And sometimes I had to reach down into my courage and go, okay, this is what I need to do. That's part of the discipline of being on a farm.
Quite a lot of things. Interesting thing. Because I just can't even think about that. I mean, I haven't done that, so I don't know. But no, whatever it is, you found the whatever strength that you needed.
Yes, exactly.
But what about Sunday school and all? You had all that happening?
Sunday school?
Yeah.
Did you mention Sunday school?
Yes, I mentioned Sunday school.
Yeah, the Catholic Church, you were in church every Sunday, sitting very quietly. You didn't want to move or you might get in trouble. I remember in Catholic school and walking over every Wednesday to Catholic Church service. And I actually loved it. It was sung in Latin. The service was in Latin when I was a little girl. And it was very beautiful and had a lot of melody to it. And I remember just listening, and the incense was glorious, Vikram. Like the incense in the Catholic Church as a little girl, I couldn't wait to get there to smell the incense.
So I'm sure that, you can, whenever you smell that, it all comes back to you.
It does, actually. Mm-hmm.
No, but what did you learn there? I mean, I'm sure you were also sent there to learn something.
Well, you learn about certain principles in life and what is considered living life well and what is considered, missing the mark a bit, the word sin that we use here in our culture. And you learn to, if you decided that you had made some mistakes in the Catholic Church, you would go into a confessional and you would tell the priest, these are the things I think I did wrong. And the priest would say, all right, you're forgiven. And I would go out to the rail, to the altar, and say the penance, which was, if I wasn't too bad that week, it would be 1 Hail Mary and 1 Our Father I would have to recite. And if I had been very bad, maybe I had to recite 3 Hail Marys and 5 Our Fathers. It depended upon what the priest thought about what I told him.
So how many times did it happen? This happened every week, I'm sure.
Every Wednesday, yes.
You had to go through this because I'm sure you were not the good girl that you were supposed to be.
I have been always a very good person, and I also have a bit of a free spirit in me. So I was a bit of the little girl that didn't want to come in and have dinner. I wanted to stay out with the bunnies and see if I could see the bunnies come out one more time from their rabbit hole. That was me. But I know I've always been a good girl. And
that's why we needed these other people there. And that's why they were not there, because you were going to be embarrassed by what they were going to say.
No, they would say the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we all adored each other, Vikram, just like my daughters and I. We just adore each other, and we love diversity, and we believe in one for all and all for one.
We don't.
And we're
This is
all
not
so different.
This is not like one of those politically correct things you have to say.
What?
That we believe this, we believe that. We have to hear the other side of it also.
You're doubting me.
No. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. So these are the daughters.
Yes.
Who's who?
On the far left side of the picture is Carly. She's now 31. And her big sister Jillian is sitting next to me. Jillian's in the dress. She's now 35. And this was my birthday in Cape Cod, Mass on the beach.
How old were they?
70.
How old were they this time, at this stage?
They're in their late, Jillian's probably 30 and Carly is 4 years younger. So late 20s, early 30s.
And they
Jillian's
also
birthday is the day before mine. So my birthday is August 19th. Jillian's birthday is August 18th. And Carly was born the end of July 23rd. So our birthdays are clustered together. So we've always, tried to celebrate our birthdays together as often as possible.
So this year, what's the plan for this year?
This year's plan is, typically I go to New York. Carly's in London right now. So she's far away. And typically I go to New York City because my sister Maureen's birthday is September 4th. And the three of us usually celebrate our birthdays together.
So where is it going to happen now?
New York City.
All of them going to come there. What is the situation now? I think we'll ask Bill later what the situation is. What about her in London? I mean, she's okay there? Everything okay?
London's been pretty locked down. Carly is in Northwood, which is north of London and to the east of London. It's been pretty locked down, but London has such beautiful countryside, and the culture there, everyone believes in getting outside and walking around and exercising. So people are out and about in the country.
Yeah, the countryside is beautiful. I keep telling people that there's a show called The Escape to the Country that BBC has. I end up watching, at least I try and watch one episode a day kind of thing. Very nice. And it's a nice format. I don't know, have you seen one of those?
No.
Oh, it's very nice.
I haven't had a television for 20 years. So
this is what you have to tell us. These are the things we need.
Yeah.
No television, you don't know what's happening in the world.
Not so much.
Good.
No. I don't like all the bad news coming into my world. There's so much bad news out there. And I just, as a mediator, I just feel like I need to be my full self. And I really think that the toxic news wears away on people. So I haven't watched a television, had one in my home for a very long time.
Not bad. This is the common thread kind of thing. I've stopped watching the news and everything for the last few months now, not years like you've done, but it's damn good. So, you don't even get to know that negativity. You're much, much better off. I think we'll take a vote on everyone, what they're doing on this. Again, the same thing. Raising chicken and not watching the TV is going to be now a common thread, I think. But what I can understand from the whole thing is getting anything out of you is going to be tough. So might as well ask.
What do you mean?
Not saying you don't want to tell us anything about what's happening. For you to ask you about what happened at the farm, and you want to jump to high school, and then you want to go play basketball at the same time.
Well, I'll tell you some funny things. So I was just a very plain girl in school. I literally think I wore flannel shirts and blue jeans every single day to high school. I never wore any makeup. I never even thought about beauty or anything like that. My mother was a Puritan New England girl. She was very no nonsense. We didn't pay attention. I never wore makeup, Vikram.
Very nice.
Not one day. My whole high school life. Yeah.
So this is what you need to hear.
One day I got nominated for homecoming princess and football queen princess candidate. And I had to go out and buy a dress, a long dress. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just said, Mom, what do I do?
That's the picture we want to see. Where's that picture?
Well, you're bringing it out like you always do with everyone. You are relentless.
What am I doing? You're telling me. Did I know about that? I didn't know about that. No, but tell us what is this New England girl? You have to tell us what this New England girl is.
My mother is 100% English. And she came, she came over on the Mayflower from the UK, her relatives, her ancestors. So there's this vibe as being in New England as well, as long with being, from British descent. It was very no nonsense. And we didn't have a lot of frills in our New England household. Our food was very plain. My mother was a great baker, but when she cooked, like her potato salad was potatoes and mayonnaise. That was it. There was nothing else there. No, we're all complaining. We're going, Mom, can we please have some flavor in our food, kind of thing. But my mom didn't believe in looking in the mirror and telling yourself how beautiful you are. So she never taught us any of that. And so we just didn't do it. So none of us realized that we had any personal beauty until like 5 years after high school. When someone finally told us that they thought that, they would give us a compliment. We're like, what? It was very funny. When I went back to my 5th year class reunion and I had a dress on and high heels, people almost collapsed. It was very funny. Yeah. And I'm kind of oblivious going, what's the problem? Yeah. It was very funny, but my mom brought a lot of modesty to the table and a bit of starkness as well, to the table of her life with her children. And we didn't have a lot of frills. My mother drove a station wagon that had holes in the bottom of it for a while. We could actually watch the road going by because the whole car wasn't used up. And that's how New Englanders were. And that's how life was back then. You didn't just trade something in because you didn't like it anymore. You had to get rid of it because it didn't work anymore. So the engine was working. And my mom had 5 children and we're all complaining, Mom, we can see the road. Please, can we get another car? And she's like, no, it still works fine.
That's the way it should be. I think we have to go back to that. I think that's a good concept, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It was very funny. We called it the Fred Flintstone Mobile. The Flintstones are a famous cartoon in the United States, where there's only wheels and like a stick connecting the front axle to the back axle, and you could see the road. That's what we called my mom's car.
No, but then what happens? I mean, when you grow up and you've had this kind of an upbringing, how do you handle the world otherwise now? Now you entered the world and you've seen things around materialism happening and everything happening. How did you handle that?
It doesn't bother me. We had such an appreciation for diversity from our upbringing that if people are wealthy and there's a lot of things they had, that was okay. I never found myself comparing myself. As a matter of fact, one winter when I was in college, I would see a lady every day that didn't have a coat. And one winter day in Western Maryland, where I was living and going to college, I took my coat off and gave it to her because she didn't have a coat and I had another thing I could wear in my little apartment. So my first apartment cost $60 a month, Vikram. It was on the garden level. I could see people's feet walking by my window. And then when, what was it? Oh, my heat didn't work. So I called my landlord and I said, hey, my heat doesn't work. Can I have my apartment rent reduced to $30? And he said, sure. So I guess I started mediating back then.
Negotiating at least.
He goes, sure. So, when you grow up the way that I grew up, you make it work. We don't have heat. Okay, put more clothes on. And we don't have this. Okay, do this.
Have your daughters also picked that up?
Yes. And I made sure that I spoiled my daughters because I wanted to, and I knew the world wasn't going to spoil them. So one day they said, Mom, you spoiled us. And I said, of course I did. I said, now it's figure it out in the world. So I had my chance to spoil you and I did. But I made sure that we had a little farm where we lived. So I decided to raise golden retriever puppies. They have litters of 17 puppies at one time, Vikram.
Wow.
So my daughters got the farm experience by us having 2 litters a year, I believe we did for a bit. And all the kids from the neighborhood would run to the house after school to come inside to the basement into the birthing box to feed all the puppies, make sure they were happy and play with them.
But then what did you do with them? You sold them or you gave them away?
Mm-hmm. We sold them.
But then again, the same thing.
Your
daughters are getting attached to some puppies and then they're going away. How did they handle that?
Well, we were very proud of them. You raise them for 8 weeks and you give them a nice bath. You take a hair dryer and you blow the fur backwards on the puppy and it makes it all fluffy. And then you basically enjoy matching them with a good home. we used to have people that their dog had just died and they would see one of our puppies that looked like their old golden retriever. They would burst into tears. We would put the puppy in their arms and a grown adult would stand there weeping because they had another puppy. So it was like that. And then one year, Carly decided that there was 2 puppies that she wanted to keep. So out of the 17, she took 2, which is now 15 that we were showing, right? And all of a sudden I realized, I think there's a couple puppies gone. And Carly was about 5 years old then. And I found her in the den with the puppies underneath the table. And she said, Mommy, can we keep these puppies? And I said, we absolutely can. So we did.
And you kept them. You kept them till they.
Yeah, we kept them. And then one day she was willing to get rid of one, but not the other. And the other puppy, Cooper, he was almost pure white. We kept him forever. So that's how we handled it. Yeah.
I think it's a good thing for kids to grow up with animals. I think it's a good thing. I think keeps them. But no, but then maybe I cut you off there. Now here is this girl who's obviously worn these flannel shirts and she moves into college and now she's obviously dressing up and getting that attention. How did you handle that part?
I didn't realize that I was getting any attention. I kept wondering, why do all these boys want to talk to me all the time? My girlfriends like them. So I would hook up. It would make me nervous. So I would hook them up with my girlfriends. So I totally avoided the whole thing. It was great. And plus I went to school in West Virginia. Vikram, in West Virginia has this twangy kind of accent and I wasn't used to it. So I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to talk to any guy that has this kind of accent like that. Because I was from upstate New York.
But that's not fair, is it? Is that fair? Just because of his accent, he gets rejected.
Fair for me. It was fair for me at the time. And so I just stayed away from the whole issue. And one day I met my husband.
Where did you meet him?
I was on the dance floor with my boyfriend and this very tall man walked up. And he knew my boyfriend and he said, can I dance with her? And my boyfriend said, yes. And I went, huh? I'm on the dance floor with my boyfriend and this man comes up that I don't know. And my boyfriend says that I can dance with him. So,
I'm sure that boyfriend has a name. Does he have a name or not? You don't even, do you remember? Okay. So what does Jimmy, now when Jimmy looks back, what does he say?
I have no idea, of course, what he says.
You haven't got in touch with him. You're not in touch with him. That's sad.
No.
You have to ask him. We have to ask him. What does he say now?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
All he had to say, no, you can't dance with her, and the life would have been different.
Yeah, it probably would have been because I didn't like this tall, dark-haired man, and all of a sudden, we ended up being married for almost 28 years.
He was really a bad man. That's a bad man to have around.
I'm like, who is this guy? My boyfriend steps aside and now this guy is inviting me to go camping with him. I'm like, no, I'm not going camping with you. And we were married 28 years almost. So
where is he now?
My daughter's father, his name is Greg. He lives in Lower Pennsylvania, below Harrisburg, just down Route 81, just before where Pennsylvania almost meets Maryland. He still lives there where our marital home was.
But you don't meet him. There's no connection.
Sometimes when our daughters have a grand event, Jillian graduated from Pratt Institute, the art school in Brooklyn, and we went to Radio City Music Hall in New York for her graduation. Episodes like that put us back together as a family, and it's very enjoyable.
But then after that, this is one marriage gone. There's another one which comes in.
What's that?
There was another marriage which happens after that. After
no,
doesn't happen.
No,
That's it.
I haven't remarried yet.
Okay.
I've come close, but not yet.
Okay. No, we won't get so much into your personal life. We won't get too much in that. We'll talk about that later. Not part of this.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
You're going to get into it whenever you want to get into it. Very funny.
No. I'm not even asking you anything. I'm just generally going through it. Whatever. There was someone who said that. Okay, now which guest it was, I'm not going to say, but he specifically said, look, I don't want to get into anything personal, but then he did get into some things personal. So it's something which all depends. I mean, I'm not pushing you into anything, but just the idea is for people to just hear you and understand that, okay, they've gone through things like this. We're not talking about mediators as we know them. We're talking about people out there who or, I mean, who haven't identified themselves, and they can relate to you, relate to the way you were brought up, and see similarities there. So that is the whole idea of being able to. I mean, there might be some personal, but I think that's okay. I mean, you're old enough to be able to handle that now.
Yeah, you know, life always has challenges for people, and how we move through it. Do we hold our head up high? Do we walk through it? What's our response to life is oftentimes more valuable than our reaction to life. And these, you know, everyone's life contributes to the mediation table when they sit down as a mediator. When I train people, I tell them the most important person at the mediation table is you, the mediator. And I believe that. So everything comes together for the soft skills for mediators, their past, their present, and what they're learning.
Yep. That's the important part. Exactly.
It is. Yep.
So all that is, I mean, no, there are things that obviously you don't even, I mean, if I ask you, maybe you'll remember. So there's so many things which happen in your life. I mean, I'm not going to ask you how many years of life, because I'm not going to ask you your age, but that's a lot of years gone by for sure. So there's so much that you haven't, I mean, you tap into now, and you can actually go back and say, yes, that was a moment which could have had that influence on that mediation that I sat on, or whatever. I mean, we don't know. So there are things which you have to go back a little. So that's why you have to go back a little. You're not going to get out of it.
Well, you know, those defining moments for me, one thing that I think contributes to me being a good mediator is the fact that when I was a young girl, I saw adults make mistakes in their lives, which affected my life. And the adults that were making mistakes in my life were adults that I loved and that I wanted to be loved by. So what happened with me as a person, a young person, and now as a mediator, is that I developed compassion for people making pretty serious mistakes in their life. And, you know, when I deal with people with restraining orders on them now, that's a pretty serious mistake, but I maintain my compassion as well, my curiosity about the person, not the crime, you know, that they've committed, kind of thing. So that I learned as a small girl. People make mistakes and you love them anyway. And
the good part is it didn't make you bitter about life or people and relationships. It didn't do that. That's a good part.
It did not do that, because I think I had nature that healed me when I was so sad as a young person. Then nature is alive in many ways. And I think metaphysically, it also does its magic in people's lives. So nature saved my sister and I. We always say that.
Definitely. I think that's an important healing thing. No, but I mean, today you're looking back and you're talking about this, but when you were in that situation, how were you handling that, all this happening, your father going away and all that? What was happening inside?
It was incredibly painful. I remember just weeping and weeping, often days when things would happen, when adults would make mistakes, you know, in our lives, and so much pain and a lot of sadness. And, you know, children pick up survival skills for reasons, and those survival skills serve children well throughout life. And then when you become an adult, you have to start to unravel those survival skills, and you have to start to integrate more into society. And being a person that has been able to do that, not everyone has been able to do that, it makes a tremendous mediator.
No, but I mean, your sister went through the similar thing. How is she handling that? How does she handle it? How has she come out of this?
We're two different people. My sister is highly academic. She's got a photographic memory. She's amazing cognitively. So we worked together as a little team, and we both just did our best, and we both excelled in school. We excelled in sports. We excelled. My sister is a 4.0 student, always, college, high school. She's an A student all the way through. So, you know, you throw yourself into your world of abilities. That's why school is such a beautiful place for children to be. You've got athletics, you've got academics, and children can really excel in those areas and start to form a life for themselves as they become a young adult. It's the beauty of school, I think.
But emotionally, how did she handle all that?
We were fine. We had each other, and we were fine. And
you being the elder sister, then you had to obviously have the responsibility also.
Well, she always pretends she was the oldest. She has responsibility of me. Like sometimes she even thinks I'm 63 now. I'll be 64 in August. And sometimes she thinks she's older than me. And I keep reminding her, You are not the big sister. I'm the big sister.
Okay, you told us the age. I did not ask it. Don't say that I
That's
got
all
the age out
right.
of you.
Okay.
No, but
So,
now, right now, those 2 years, whatever, they don't matter. 2, 3 years don't matter. But at that
right.
point of time, obviously, you were the elder sister, so you
Mhm.
had to take care of her also. Were you doing that?
And she took care of me as well. Yeah. We just tag team and took care of each other, and we were just little kids. So, and we lived and we played and as
But
well.
but you had friends around. I mean, there were other people living around, or were you guys?
We all the friends around us were boys. So my sister and I became total tomboys because of that. And that's why we were always outside, because we were always playing with boys.
Yeah, but what is this of a farm structure? I mean, you have these large farms, and you have these people meeting somewhere. How do you? What is the socializing happening there? When you
We don't really. We never really did much. We went to school and played sports. We came home, did our homework, and then we took care of the farm. We woke up the next morning, took care of the farm, went to school, played sports, came home, took care of the farm. So our family of 5 children and 2 parents, that was our life. And we were good with that. We
But how
enjoyed
big?
it. We worked hard.
How many
My
kids in the
sister,
school?
it's a good question. My high school class had about, I think, 182. So maybe a high school of under 1,000. And my sister made friends more than I did and with other people, but I had a boyfriend in 10th grade. So for 2.5 years, pretty much, I had the same boyfriend and socialized with him when I wasn't playing sports or working.
But how does a tomboy have a boyfriend? How does that work?
I don't know how that happened. He had another girlfriend and he wanted to talk about it on the bus on the way home from basketball practice. And all of a sudden, now he doesn't like her and he likes me. And all of a sudden, I had a boyfriend.
But how did that tomboy react to that? How did you take to that?
I was just kept being me. Like, I didn't dress up for him. I didn't even know enough to dress up for my boyfriend.
But he accepted you the way you were. That's it. He didn't want you to dress up also.
Yeah.
Another good guy. But what is his name? And I mean, all these guys are gone. I mean, there's no connection at all.
His name was Arthur, and he was special. My life expanded right there because his parents always wanted to go out to eat on Sundays. So we went out every Sunday and would get into the car with his parents, and we would drive somewhere and we would have a meal together. So that was my social life.
Wow.
Yeah.
But must be good. I think I'm still imagining that life, good life. I don't know, but obviously hard work. I mean, you're getting up and doing work in the farm.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely must be hard work. I mean, you're just saying so, but getting up early. What time did you get up that time?
4 a.m.
Wow.
So Vikram, now as a mediator, like, I don't even do lunch. I put my head down and I go. Like, when I was been in court in the past, when I was working in court and ran the mediation programs in 5 courts in central Massachusetts, like, the translators would take lunch and I would still keep mediating. That's how that work ethic translated over. And
You're used to hard work.
yeah, and 6-hour mediation. Okay, we'll just keep going until we get to the end, until we figure it out. We come to an agreement. I've closed mediation centers down before, left at 10 o'clock at night because I didn't want to give up on the mediation. So as long as they're willing to keep mediating, I don't need to have peanuts or whatever, just keep going. But I must say, after 4 hours, you need to have some food, not just, drinks and snacks. So I did learn that.
But I'm still interested in the farm life. Did you get up at 4 o'clock, and what are you doing there?
Yeah.
After what happens?
We had to have metal pails and bring them into the bathroom because we didn't have a water source at that time going straight out to the farm that wouldn't freeze in the wintertime. So the wintertime, we had to actually cart buckets of water to the 6 cows in the barn from the bathroom, which meant you had to have a pathway from the house to the farm. Sometimes the snowdrifts in Syracuse, New York were 6 feet, 8 feet tall, and we were always shoveling in the wintertime. The summertime, it was much easier because, the well, we just used the well that was out there. But in the wintertime, we couldn't use a water source. So hard winters, for sure.
Now, where do you live? Where do you live now? Where do you spend your time?
I don't know where I live anymore because I've accepted so many mediation opportunities that I've ended up hopscotching across the country a bit. You know, I have a work apartment in El Paso, and I'm here in Tacoma on a couple of cases, and I'm staying in an Airbnb with an elderly woman. Her name is Judy. You met her.
Yeah.
I kind of have her as an adopted mother. And then half of my clothes are in my apartment in Queens, New York, Forest Hills, with my daughter, Jillian, because she asked me to spend some time with her. So half of my stuff is in El Paso. I've been here in the Seattle area for about 2 months with a suitcase full of clothes, and then the other half of my clothes are back in Forest Hills. So I don't know, where do I live, Vikram, with all that? Like, which one is my house?
Which one is you? First of all, we have to find out which one is you.
I can
No, but
tell you
then
El Paso didn't lose power because they're on their own grid. And the other day in El Paso, Texas, it was 56 degrees.
Okay, look, I don't understand that. You have to tell me in centigrade. Fahrenheit, I don't understand.
I can't do it in centigrade. It's
Okay,
probably, it would be 70 degrees centigrade, I think. Somewhere
70?
up there. 20 degrees difference, right? Almost.
No, we have to go down.
Yeah.
It'll be colder. It'll be colder. Okay, we'll check
So
that later. We'll check that out later.
in the 30s, yeah.
But people don't know that this new mother of yours is taking so much care of you, makes such good stuff for you to eat. But do you help around the house or not?
Yes, we've been working on a project together. I first met her when I needed an Airbnb room when I came to Tacoma, Washington State, to mediate for 10 days. I come here out here, every year and mediate for 10 days at their center, the Dispute and Resolution Center here in Tacoma, Washington. I need
Right
an
now you're
Airbnb room. So
there right now.
That's where I met my adopted mom. Yes.
But are you there right now? That's where you are. So where is she now?
She's sleeping.
Okay. Yeah. So it was 7:30 now. 7:30.
Yeah, she stays up very late till about 3 a.m. and she goes to bed and she wakes up about 10:30ish.
Okay, good. That's also good life.
Yes.
I think what I'm going to do is, please put up, and I let everyone ask you. I'm not going to be getting too much out of you as I see. So mine. So everyone, please put up your virtual hand and ask Kathleen something. Yeah, one sec. We'll just give you 1 second.
I think my family would disagree with you, Vikram. I think you've gotten a lot out of me.
Nothing. I'm going to go back to it. I'm just getting these people in. I'm going to go back to it.
Thank you for the break, Vikram.
So we'll have something to ask you. We'll.
Kathleen, it's absolutely fascinating listening to your story, your life story. It's amazing. But what actually got you into mediation in the first place? What was the trigger, the pivotal point that you decided to become a mediator?
Two things. One thing is funny. The funny one is that I was in Atlanta, Georgia, living for a while. See, I don't know where my home is. And I was starting to write a book about my family story. And I happened to become friends with some of the pilots with AirTran and Southwest Airlines in the United States. And they were talking about a merger. So they had just come out of the union meeting. And they were talking about these points of what they thought they would do. And I'm sitting there listening. And I said, what about this, and even this? And all their heads turned down and they looked at me and they said, Kathleen, you should be a mediator. And I said, what's a mediator? So that's the funny. Yeah, that was 2008.
Okay.
The other more serious part is that I became very injured in an auto accident in 2002, where I actually lost half my face from the road scraping it off. So I was actually disfigured. And it ended my teaching career for about 3.5 years. I couldn't teach. And when I went back to teaching, I wasn't well enough to teach. So I retired, early retirement from teaching in 2004. And so what happened was, my daughter sat me down about 2007 at dinner in Brooklyn. And I realized, something's going on here, because her boyfriends weren't there. So my daughter sat me down and they said, Mom, we want you to have another career. And I said, what do you mean? I had a wonderful career. I had all these, wonderful accolades as a teacher, high school teacher. And now I'm on Cape Cod and I'm playing in the sand and I'm walking every day in my little cottage and I'm sailing and I'm swimming and I'm retired. What do you mean I need another career? He said, Mom, we need you to go do something else. Go have another career. And we need you to be our hero, Mom. And I went.
But Kathleen, with that period, after that accident, what was happening then?
Well, because of all that, I went through a divorce. I was going through a divorce, and they said, Mom, we need you to go be our hero. We were all suffering because we were divorcing. Our family, we loved each other. Their father and I, we loved each other, and this horrific accident just interrupted our love affair, and it was too horrible for everyone to handle. And they said I was a blob. I was pretty much worthless as a human being, as a mother, as a capable mother. I didn't teach for 3.5 years because of it. I had a head injury, I had a skull fracture, I had a traumatic brain injury. I was a wreck. This was, between 99 and brain injuries take 2 to 10 years to heal. So they said, Mom, we need you to go be our hero, because we all suffered and they just needed their mother to go do one more thing to restart the happiness in our life. And then they told me just a week ago, on Valentine's Day, my daughters and I, we ate chocolate ice cream this past Valentine's Day. And I just found out 20 years later that our Valentine's Day procedure is chocolate ice cream. Every time you dip your spoon into the chocolate ice cream, you have to say what you like or love about the other person. So this is what my daughters and I did for 3 hours on Valentine's Day. I finally found out 20 years later that they said to me, Mom, we knew that you had more to offer than just playing in the sand and the water and walking around all the time and being happy on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. That's why they asked me to go get a second career. And I said, well, I really don't want to, but I'll do it for you because I love you both so much.
So I think I think that question
that
of yours.
Is how I considered a second career. And then when the conversation happened about with the airplane merger, I went to mediation training in the Justice Center of Atlanta, which is one of the original centers that President Carter set up. And I started my journey as a mediator. And everything everyone asked me to do, I said no. My partner was the judge that settled the Martin Luther King Jr. estate, and he didn't tell me who he was at first. And he came in the next day to class. He was my partner, and he said, Kathleen, did you do your homework? And I said, excuse me, of course I did my homework. I was a high school teacher for 23 years. And he goes, can I copy your homework? And I said, no, you're a judge, do your own homework. And so it was funny stuff like that happened. And he asked me to mediate.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, please.
He asked me to mediate with him in Superior Court. And I said, no, I don't know what I'm doing. And every time everyone asked me to mediate something because, I had ability, I said no. Because I won't do anything until I know that I'm good at it, because I haven't had a chance to get good yet. So I said no. For like 3 years straight, I kept saying no. And finally, one day I agreed to coach somebody, just coach. And that's where I started my mediation career, by coaching one person only. Yes.
No, but here I'm talking about when you asked Mr. Panchu that question about that dark space. So this is that where you were coming from, that accident period. I think that's where you were coming from. Now that
that dark, you're right. That dark space either transforms you or it can destroy you as a person. And the point is to be transformed and step higher up in life and see what life has waiting for you on the other side of that dark space. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was because I think, but now that you look back, obviously, I mean, you can, that period must have been a tough period. It must have been a real tough period.
I didn't know that I was going to make it. My deal breaker with myself was if I didn't have the ability to be a good mother, I was done with life. I was done. Fortunately, one day I realized that I was going to be okay and that I would continue to be a good mom.
No, I think good. The daughters were there. I mean, that's an important thing, that they were there.
Mm-hmm. They were there as best as anyone could be there. Everyone was there. But that journey is a solo journey, because when you have a head injury, it shuts your whole world down. Your world becomes very small when you have a traumatic brain injury.
I'm not going to take you through that. I'm sure that was a tough time to handle.
Mm-hmm.
But Will, I just muted you because that noise was there. But if you want to ask her something else, I mean, please. You'll have to unmute yourself. You'll have to unmute yourself if you want. Okay, no, Ryan's going down. No, sorry, Will.
Say that's fine.
No. Yes, Ryan.
Hi.
Hi. First of all, the fact that you knew Coach Knight is awesome. My dad's an Indiana Hoosier, so basketball's big in our family.
But there will be no basketball conversation now.
It's yes, there will be. Oh yeah, we're gonna mute you, Vikram.
Yeah, Ryan, you were saying something.
Yeah, and secondly, I just want to kind of give you a bit of a shout out. I have been trying for about 2.5 years now. I finished my postgraduate work 2.5 years ago, and I've been trying to break into mediation. And the struggle that I've kind of dealt with is that 90% of people in ADR, whether it's conciliation, mediation, arbitration, seem to have a law background. So listening to you with your education background makes me feel a little bit better. Maybe there's hope for me yet, in spite of kind of the walls that I've run into so far.
Ryan, there will not be any counseling. No, there will not be any counseling. You connect with her separately for counseling on this issue. If there is something that you want to ask her in terms of her life you are interested in, please do that.
I think he kind of did, Vikram, because he's right. Coming from a non-law background seems to be the wrong place, but it's actually the right place.
This is not that forum to discuss that. He does come to our that young mediators collective. We'll discuss that with him there, not here. So, but Gilbert definitely has something to ask you, Gilbert.
Yes, I listened to your life story, and you have experienced divorce with your parents. And now you are working in divorce mediation. I noticed you published a book about this. And my question would be, do you think that there are people who are really not made for long-term relationships, in the way that mediation has to become something very normal and clear? Because I'm also doing family mediation, and I see a lot of young couples now coming up with 2-3 little children, who we can say here in Luxembourg it's about a third young couples who enter in a divorce situation. What do you think?
Yeah, divorce is common. In my mediations, oftentimes people get back together as well. So just so you know, I think that people don't have clarity with each other in their lives, and they bump into a wall they can't get through anymore. And it's just the lack of communication. So there's a rule that I have, like, you have rules in life and you have love in life. A lot of rules pushes down the feelings of love. And that's what happens oftentimes between people. They have these expectations and this and that, this and that, this and that. I'm going back to El Paso next Tuesday, and I'm working with a couple that wants to head toward divorce. And I'm kind of like, well, let's see what the mediation table does for you. They don't have clarity with each other. So it seems like people are ending relationships, but then they're starting new relationships. So, we're pack animals. We want to be in relationship typically with others. So when they start their new relationships, they're behind the 8 ball a little bit, because they probably haven't fixed what happened in their first relationship. So, the experience that we have with each other as human beings, we get a chance to rub the rough edges off of each other, especially in a marriage or a close relationship. And people need to understand that and take advantage of that. And whether people are meant for several marriages throughout their life, I think maybe some people are, but I think there are other people that aren't meant to be, that they really would have liked to work it out with that first person they were married to back in the day. They just didn't have the opportunity. So the clarity of mediation, I think, gives them the opportunity, because mediation is about clarity and agreement. I've had so many ahas in divorce mediations where when they leave, they're hugging and kissing each other. They're still divorcing, but they understand each other better. I've had couples to stay together.
So in the way that divorce can also be a success, in the way that they had a good divorce, and life is going on, and they are good co-parentals and so on.
But that's a very serious study. Here we have the tomboy. The tomboy looks like this, is it? Tomboys look like this?
Yeah. That's Duxbury, Massachusetts on the beach. Yeah, that's what my daughter said. Please leave that life and go do something again. Yeah, and I said, okay.
Was that the stair to your mediation office?
I wish it was. If I had been smart, it would have been the stairs to my mediation office.
Yeah, would be nice.
Okay, we can go back to that. We can go back to that. I just moved from there.
Yeah.
But where is this going? Where is it? This staircase? Where is it going? What is on top?
Well, you know, that's a lighthouse on the water.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Where is it?
It's Duxbury, Massachusetts, which is above Plymouth, Massachusetts, which is on the coast, on the east coast of the United States.
That's surprising. You have lighthouses on the coast. That's surprising.
Oh, why?
Obviously, it'll be on the coast. Definitely. I don't think
we don't want the ships to crash into the coast from the water. Why?
They have to be on the coast. You said lighthouse on the coast. I mean, I was like, it has to be there. We know. But Heidi was there. I don't know. Heidi wanted to say something. Heidi? She wanted to leave. But I think we'll first speak to Adriana. Okay, Heidi, if you're back. Adriana's going after that, you know. Adriana's going. Adriana's in Croatia.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello. Hello. It was very, it was great to hear your life path and experiences. And I was wondering when you were talking about how you try to exclude yourself from negativity of the world, living in a country and without television, and this is really great. And what do you do and how you protect yourself when you come in the surroundings with lots of stress, with this real life, with this all these stressful issues? Can you be there too long time, and how do you protect yourself? And can you function in such a different surroundings as the surrounding you live in and the one that you may frequently function, maybe?
Yes, I can. As a health teacher, as well as an athlete, I can tell you the answer to be a good mediator, to alleviate the stress, is to exercise intensely. And it's why I called Vikram earlier Bikram for a second, because I practice the Bikram yoga in the United States.
That's tough one, huh? You have to tell them about that.
That is an intense hot yoga. This posture is the same every single time across the world. The practice is the same. And it's an hour and a half, 90 minutes of just pure toil.
Kathleen, first of all, tell me, if Bikram has sponsored this, you have to share that with me. Whatever you're like promoting him, you can't do that. You have to share either the revenue that you're getting from him. You're promoting hot yoga here on this channel.
It's the intense exercise. For me, it's the Bikram yoga. I am not stressed out after that class. I am ready to be a mediator the next day. That's my answer. And any answer will be intense physical exercise. Meditation is great, but the stress is stored in your body. It's stored in your bones, your muscles, your organs, your connective tissues. It has to get out, and intense exercise is the best way, number one way for stress to leave the body. And that's the secret.
But I think, Kathleen, a question for you is that you talk about the other children, because I'm sure they were from the other marriage of your mother. Those 5 children that you talk about, please tell us more about them.
They're wonderful people. My brother lives in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, which is on the coast. And I see him a lot. My youngest brother and sister live up near my mom in New York State area and Pennsylvania area, and don't communicate with them as much. They've moved on to different lives, and we don't have as much in common as adults. So they're not people that I spend a lot of time with anymore. And my baby sister has married and has a family of her own, and they're in their 50s, and I'm in my 60s. So
I think
my
that
brother,
Heidi, that Heidi ask her ask you what she really wanted to ask. Heidi, why don't you get your video on and unmute yourself?
Sure. Hello, and thank you so much for everything you said. I'm actually from the Boston area too, so the terrain, the coast, everything you're talking about is very familiar to me.
Hi.
So in a conversation I was having with Vikram last week, we were talking about the question of birth order and whether or not, I've always had this, I am a lawyer, but I've always had this sort of theory that mediators tended to be sort of either middle children or if not middle children, sort of have played a role in their family as a mediator growing up. And the litigators, maybe were more likely to be firstborns. This is totally anecdotal and not based on any research. And I've always wanted to do research on it. So I sort of had mentioned to Vikram the idea of asking people that question. And I know you've said that you are an oldest. So I think that's, it blows my theory, but I'm sort of curious about how it may have played out for you growing up.
Well, I think your theory is still there because I have a bit of a legal mind, pragmatic mind. I'm very easygoing, but my mind is like a steel trap. There's nothing that I do in mediation that I don't know that I'm doing. I would say being a high school teacher with all the balls up in the air all the time is absolute big preparation. Matter of fact, on Facebook, I credit my students for my success now in mediation. Yep. And I didn't report a lot of students to the office. Like in 23 years, maybe I sent 5 students to the office because they were in trouble because I fixed it in my classroom.
Sure.
So that was a big deal. I train lawyers now in the basic mediation course. And so I can help them make that jump from being so pragmatic, legally mind, to the other side. Right?
Yeah, no, law school was really poor preparation. Somebody else asked about, there are a lot of lawyers who are mediators, but it's sort of antithetical to legal training in many ways. So I think it's almost like breaking a horse in, you sort of have to say no. You're not fixing the problem that way.
But Heidi, we still have to get in your theory. I think we still have to understand her relationship with these other children there. I mean, maybe there's something more to it. Maybe Kathleen, you have to get more into this because she has a theory. We're working on that theory of the fact that as such, what child were you, or the middle, this, that. But between you people, the 5 of you, because one is between you and your sister, but now you're 5. In those 5, what were the dynamics there?
I love them, and I took care of my little sister and 2 little brothers. And when they graduated from high school, I said, come live with me for free for a summer so you can experience another part of the country and see what you want to do with your life. So I was always taking care of them as they were growing up. And then I was the oldest, so I kind of did my thing too. When you're the oldest, a bit of you is oblivious to your younger siblings. So it's kind of a combination. My sister and I are 13 months apart, so we were more the same age. But we just all loved each other in our young family, and we all took care of each other. And it's the whole thing when your big sister, my little baby sister, brother sits on my lap, and if they're crying, pick them up and give them a Band-Aid, all those kinds of things. I wasn't mean to my little brothers and sisters. Okay. We didn't have that in our family.
Okay, so it wasn't like the real sister is different and these other people have to treat differently. Nothing like that.
No.
But I was
nobody was the black sheep in our family. What?
Did your moms, were you sort of like a junior mom? Like, did your mom sort of delegate some of the not child rearing, but like responsibilities around the house to you?
No, my mom delegated them to everyone. My brother in kindergarten was making his own scrambled eggs in the frying pan on the stove. The whole New England thing, right? Yeah. No, everybody took care of themselves. And then if you're the big sister and you see them doing something wrong, you just come along and help and maybe finish it for them. But no, literally, we were all doing our own cooking at age 5.
But this cultural thing, Kathleen, I'm seeing this cultural thing that you told these whatever your siblings that come stay with me for free. Here it's understood that they're going to come and stay for free. So is there an option there that you don't come and stay with you for free?
No, it maybe because in the United States a lot of times there's going to have some skin in the game. What are you going to do? I never charge, and in my family, my daughters, I would never charge at all. So I like the old school. I often refer to, Europe and the way of living there, that I regard it more than the United States, because in the United States, everyone's splitting off and getting their own house, and we lose our families that way oftentimes. So no, for me, it could go either way in the States. People say, okay, you're going to get a job, so you pay a little bit of rent while you're living here, but I could never do that. I gave my brother a job with me. I was the assistant director of the YMCA day camp, and my brother became a counselor. So I was more like that. But in the States, it goes either way. To be clear, Vikram.
But Anil, are you there? Because Anil is in Singapore and it's quite late right now there. So what? I mean, about 12:30. Anil, are you there? You want to ask? Yeah, Anil's there.
Hello, Anil here from Singapore. Kathleen, this is very, very interesting. I was in the middle of finalizing a paper that I'm presenting in Bangladesh on Monday on the Singapore Convention. And, the kind of things that you discussed, and the fact that your background is not law, it forms really quite essential part about mediation. A lot of people have just assumed that lawyers make the best mediators. Not necessarily. I'm a lawyer, but it's not necessarily. And the fact that you describe your upbringing and growing up really sets the framework for the core values and essentials of what a mediator should be like. And a lot of people, I deal with about maybe 80% of the mediators that I deal with or co-mediate with don't understand and don't appreciate the fundamentals of mediation. And I think sometimes it is all because they're pretty much lawyering more than anything else. So I think, listening to you is exhilarating, to say the least.
That was the whole idea, Anand. That was the idea, that we have to have people from all kinds of background, because this whole concept that, at least look, things that are happening in India, they're starting off, people should not get the wrong idea. Everyone can be a mediator. It's not, I think.
Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, just maybe two other points. We from Singapore think that the Singapore Convention is like incredible and great and all of that. But we seem to forget one fundamental aspect, that in a mediated settlement, it's a consensual settlement between parties. Do you honestly believe that they're not going to, live up to it, and that you might have to end up enforcing on it? So, the real value of that, I don't know. And the second point is that culture. I think the culture of mediation has a serious bearing. In doing up the paper, I just realized that in South America, they feel that having a matter mediated makes you weak and an inefficient method. So these aspects play a quite a big part.
These are not part of this particular show. That's
so
will happen separately.
I'd like to answer that, Vikram.
Yeah,
I'd
please.
like to answer that. Thank you so much. Yes, I agree. We need to remember, and I had a lot of problems with the industry when I first stepped into it, because they weren't being gracious and open-ended like they teach the mediation process. So we have to remember that mediation is about humanity. It's simply a conversation. We're sitting down with fellow human beings, and we're helping them work out an issue. And we need to have some skin in the game, as we say in the United States. We need to be there. We need to be fully present with them.
Yep.
And it's our job, and it can be our task, our pledge, to at least they leave the table having some options of doing things differently, elevating themselves as a higher human being when they leave the mediation table, because they've been through mediation. I call it the magic of mediation. Mediation is a beautiful process, and we should use it beautifully as well as pragmatically.
Yeah.
I always say the greatest mediators flow between pragmatic and intuitive, organic. And when I teach, I actually use improv skills when I train to help mediators become more fleet-footed. So it's a very humanizing process. It's the last place that we are before someone tells them what they have to do. And we need to really wrap our arms around that and give them that last shot opportunity where they have the power to be empowered.
But I think Anil saying he's a lawyer and all, but he's not like a lawyer. He has a totally different mindset. He's not that kind of person that you would think a lawyer. He has a real mediator mindset, is what I say.
Vikram, lawyers get stuck all the time in court. They
Exactly.
get stuck and they can't handle their parties. And mediation comes in and handles their parties for them.
No, that's what I'm saying. When you say generalize on lawyers, don't do that, because Anil is different. He doesn't have that kind of mindset. That's not that lawyer mindset at all. I don't know.
I love that lawyer mindset.
We don't want it. No, we don't want it. We don't want it.
I respect brain power, Vikram, and ability. I respect it. And then the mediation, the mediator runs that process. It's up to the mediator to constrain that brain process to work with the mediation process.
It's how you use that brain is what is important. It's not having the brain. Yes, it's a good thing, but you can use it to make bombs also. You can do some good in society also. So that just the brain.
People are dropping bombs in mediation. Actually, it's true.
But the only thing is you haven't dropped too many bombs here. We need you to drop some bombs here. That's what people
not going to happen.
Oh, no, you can't do that. The rating of the show is going to go down.
Well, I want to be transparent, and that's why I'm willing to do this. And I want everyone to understand, we're just human beings, and the diversity of what we have in the mediation culture should be amazing. And we should really be respecting that and enjoying that as well.
But I wanted Indrani to come in. I don't know if Indrani can hear us. She's in Durban in South Africa. But I think after she puts a video on.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Vikram. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We want to see you also, if it's possible.
Not today, thanks. Kathleen.
Okay.
Kathleen, I want to say that this has been such an interesting opportunity, and as a compliment, you certainly don't look a day older than 55. So whatever you're doing, keep at it.
I love you.
Tell us also, you have to tell us also what you do. She said hot yoga. Hot yoga is what she's doing.
I'm in love. Thank you.
All right, so that's the first thing, and then obviously it's very evident that you very centered, anchored, born to be a mediator. Although, as you said, you arrived there by default, but I think it was always your calling. And as you correctly pointed out to us, working with children and not sending them to the principal's office just speaks to your natural attributes to be doing what you do so well in this period of your life. So my question, just as an additional point, is I know Vikram isn't a reader. Are you a reader, and what do you read to keep you on the continuous professional growth kind of thing, if at all?
I've been reading the laws of physics lately. I am a bit of a reader. When I become curious, I started to notice in mediation that people came into the mediation and so did energy. So I would suggest every mediator understands the law of physics, especially entropy. I did a bit of a webinar on it, and where you have disorder meeting order, because parties bring in their disorder of their lives into the orderly mediation process. And one of the mistakes that mediators make is to try to keep the parties in order with the mediation process, which is very dehumanizing, actually. It's way cognitive. It's not humanizing at all. So people feel left out of the mediation process. So I'm reading the laws of physics right now.
But tell me, Kathleen, did this happen? Yes. Did this happen after Ken came on the show and he spoke about quantum physics and all? Is everyone raising chicken, talking about quantum physics? Everything is it some kind of a link there?
It's the science of energy.
When did this happen? You have to tell us. It's been happening for quite some time. You have to tell us that.
About a year. I've been looking into the laws of physics, and then I started talking about it in the webinars with Mediate Guru as well, because it's part of the training. When you've got someone that's erupted, that eruption has its own energy. It's a separate entity at the mediation table, especially when it comes up from the belly of someone. So I've learned as a mediator to handle the energy first and then go back to the person, because what happens, it's called an amygdala hijack. Amygdala hijack. The prefrontal cortex loses 15 IQ points when people get upset like that. And it's a 20-minute process where they have to wind down from it. So they're pretty much useless. So I've become their prefrontal cortex for them by reiterating the words. Yes. And I reiterate the words and they start to calm down. They start to correct themselves. And I don't vilify them because, as I said in my last webinar, that second narrative of outbursts is a narrative that needs to be clarified as well as their cognitive words. So the feelings are a narrative. We've got two narratives at the mediation table. We've got the words and we've got the feelings. So that's what I'm diving into, the laws of physics.
Brilliant.
Right.
Thank you for that. May I make a suggestion before I go? And that is at the next available slot for Meet the Mediator at the fireside, you interview Vikram. I think we all need to know.
Ken is 80. Many years to go. Many years to go. And Indrani, you have to be around for so many years to be able to do that. There are other people in the line also who want to do that.
Speaking of physics, Vikram is a force of nature. In a good kind of way.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, but
thank you.
But Ryan has told us that 54 degrees is 12 degrees centigrade. That's one thing. And Mickey has told us that he lives in the countryside. Mickey, you want to tell us about your countryside living? He's in England.
Hi, everybody. Hi, what a fascinating conversation.
One second, just Mickey, one second. Will wants to say something. Will, you want to say something?
No. I'm just going to say goodbye. Thank you, Kathleen. Oh, wonderful. But I need to shoot off. But thank you. Awesome. Fantastic little sessions. So thanks very much.
You're very welcome.
That's brilliant.
Right.
Connect on LinkedIn.
Yep. Yes, you can. We should definitely do that. That's wonderful. All right. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Yes, Mickey.
I just wanted to say that I totally get the thing about animals and being out in the country and that headspace. And I very often in my non-mediation work invite my clients to my house and we just go for a walk in the country, in the fields, and let them vent and rant and say whatever they want. And it's that calming, you see a horse, you automatically drop a couple of levels and your shoulders go a bit, So yeah, I totally get what you're saying, and we're blessed to live out in the countryside.
Mickey's like just got into like that now. The professional mediator thing, he just puts that there. I'm sure he was a mediator all his life. We'll get to that later, but he's now got into that field now, and he does other things also. So, what is your experience, Mickey, on that?
What, on the mediator side or on the
mediator side? You don't have to promote you promoting your business here? Why are you promoting your business here?
It's because I had trouble logging on. I had trouble logging on, so I thought I better not play around anymore. I only became a mediator a year ago because I've spent my life in business solving problems. But that's less relevant than what you said about being the middle child. I disagree with that. I was the baby in the family, and I spent my whole life looking and listening to what was going on in the family. And that's how I understood to weigh up both sides of an argument. Because as a child, you get to listen and absorb, right? You don't get involved. So and I think that benefited me hugely. So I'm sorry if it throws your theory out.
No, it's not. It's Thrody's in Heidi. I've got Heidi. She has unmuted Heidi. Heidi, what do you think of his thing?
Well, I think it's fascinating because I too am a youngest. So even though I had that theory, but I was the youngest by 6 years. So in lots of ways, if you know anything about birth order theory, I mean, one is that a 6-year span creates you as an oldest or an only, as well as being sort of a youngest. So
you have to bring it. That SIP has to happen now. Okay.
What?
Well, I was saying that SIP has to happen now. This is like
because the reason my video was off because I was eating. So then I couldn't. Yeah. Anyway, I won't go there. But thank you. But I guess I felt like I'm sorry, I don't know the name of it. Mickey, you were just saying that I always describe my childhood as being like a video, like I was watching it roll out and I was sort of an observer because everyone was so much older. And I'd say, well, to myself, that didn't work out. That didn't work out so well. That didn't really well. I would sort of like take note, I think I'll do that and probably should avoid this. And so it is sort of an interesting thing. I guess as I've become older and I have sort of played the role in the family, I don't know, maybe my theory is bad, but it just seemed to me that people who were harsh litigators were often oldest. And maybe my default thinking, then initially at least, was, well, maybe mediators sort of fall into this other category of younger or middle or something, other than wanting to always be in control, wanting to always be directive, and follow the rules. And I think, you know, a lot of birth order research says that oldest children, you know, are rule followers by and large.
I can tell you that when a disruption happens at the mediation table, I own the room. I sit back and I let people talk, but I own that process. I own the room, and I'm going to start. I mean, people have these rules: don't interrupt each other. I'm going to be the first one to interrupt anyone at my mediation table if I think it's going to benefit the parties. So I do have that grit from being the oldest child, and a lot of lawyers have that same grit as well. So I think that's interesting, and I also think that's why one of the reasons why I'm a good mediator, because I can bring that grit to the table only when it's necessary. I certainly don't start with it.
Sure.
But if it needs to be there, it shows up like effortlessly because of being the oldest.
Okay, we have
Switzalana
is leaving. She wanted to say thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Please connect on LinkedIn, everyone.
Yeah, no, I'd love to.
She was leaving. She just wanted to leave. But I thought Mr. Akesanya should have come in. Jamie, are you there? Okay. Maybe, may not. Okay, so we have Rosalia. Rosalia, you want to say something? You'll have to unmute yourself, because lip reading is not my scene. I know Kathleen might be good at it. I'm not.
Good morning. I'm sorry to join so late. I had to go check in. I have elderly parents that I usually visit on Saturday mornings. I'm usually at their place, but I have to go check in every Saturday morning. So that's why I'm so late this morning.
Are they okay? Are they okay?
Yeah, they're very elderly. I mean, with COVID, you know, it's difficult, and I don't live with them, obviously. So I do check in on them. I have a brother that lives with them, but I check in, and I usually spend Saturdays at my parents' cleaning and taking care of, you know.
Rosalia, she's in Montreal.
Yes, Yes, I'm in Montreal. I'm in Canada. I've been a mediator since 2010. But I'm trained as a lawyer, but I work as I'm a Canadian civil servant, and I've worked in mediation. I do it also on the side, consultancy, but lately with COVID, it's a little slow, and we have a lot of work.
But how cold is it? How cold is it? You have to tell us that.
Montreal.
It's not so bad, actually. I think it's -10.
Only.
That's it, though. That's it. Okay, you just get frozen there. I mean, the body parts don't fall out. That's what happens.
I know that's cold for you, but for us, that's pretty good. It's pretty mild. We've had a very good winter here, I could say. A real winter, which is nice, with snow, and we could go skating. It's beautiful.
It must be nice, actually, because my daughter went skiing right now. I saw that. It was nice.
Sorry, I wanted to say that Kathleen, I'm gonna listen to the first part of your presentation. I just came in when you were talking about the middle child, and I started laughing because I am a middle child.
The theory's right.
The theory is correct, because I am a middle child. I have 4 brothers, and since childhood, I've played the part of mediator. So I think it's sort of it's a profession that found me more than anything.
But the only thing, the whole process, Mickey's got left out. We were talking to him, and suddenly the whole went to the theory.
No, I listen. You know what? I actually think you put everything in context, right? Because a lot of it is bearing also on your upbringing and your parents, and how much responsibility you had and at what age. So Kathleen, you were talking about all learning to cook at an early age and being more self-sufficient. So
yes.
I'm not sure it's about who was born first. I just think it's about the context of the family environment you live in. And because in my family, it was completely different to that.
Well, let's remember as well that mediation is a praxis. It's what we learn from each other. Like if people were going to attend my training, I make sure they leave with skills they never had before, because when they leave, I want them to know what they're doing. So the role playing is really important. We already bring skills to the table, and we need to keep learning skills, because either in life we're growing or we're receding. We don't have a choice if we want to be good at this profession. We have to learn from each other. So we all need to go to each other's mediation trainings and learn something new all the time. I stay fresh because I coach Indian students and other students in the law school mediation tournaments. I took a team to the CIMI tournament. It was wonderful. I'm coaching 3 teams right now. So that keeps me fresh, where I keep on growing because they bring this new perspective. Mediators, unfortunately, oftentimes get into the box and they don't want to get out of the box. And nobody can grow that way. They become way too pragmatic and they get stuck and they get bored and they get stressed out. We can't let that happen to us if we want to be fresh.
You need people to challenge you and not to be frightened of challenging you. And you have to make that very clear. I do a lot of training too. And when I'm coaching, if somebody doesn't agree with what I've just said, then tell me. Let's talk about it.
Let me tell you, no, forget all that, Mickey. I am telling you that you cannot promote yourself on this show. And if you do, you have to, I have all my bank details, everything on my website. Please transfer money there. You can't do this. Look at this, what you've done behind you. Kathleen doesn't have that behind her. And Mickey's like gone all out.
It's not important, honestly. It's really not important.
Okay. No, that's okay. It's okay.
We need to be more curious than judgmental and proud of the box that we've locked ourselves into as this great mediator. You know, we need to be curious about what else can we learn? What else can we do differently? And that keeps us continuing to move forward as good.
Rosalia was saying something, I cut her off. Rosalia, is that pronunciation of the name all right? Rosalia?
Rosalia, actually. It's it's Italian origin.
Okay.
It's
beautiful.
Rosalia.
Guys, I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to leave you.
We're really sorry about that, Mickey. How will the show go on without you? It'll be tough. We'll manage.
I'm sure you'll just take a picture of the screen and keep it in your pocket.
Yes.
Vikram, I love you a lot, and I will speak to you any day this week, I'm sure.
Okay. See you. Bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, Rosalia, you were saying something.
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's it. So, Mr. Akesania wanted to say something. Mr. Akesania, Kathleen was the one who came on the show. I don't know whether you saw his. Did you see his thing? He was here on episode 2.
Yes.
Yes.
I loved it.
Thank you, Vikram. One thing I've enjoyed about this series is an amazing discovery, and I wrote it in an article recently. That first of all, not just that mediators are born, not made, but also that almost all the mediators I meet, when you get into conversations like this, end up having so much in common. Exactly. Even in the little details like being a middle child. And it's amazing how a lot of these things form you out. I mean, I started off being a lawyer. I believe that being a lawyer was it. I mean, being a barrister, being an advocate. But, you know, a lot of things, the things that were innate in me were there. Now, one thing that I found interesting, that Kathleen was talking about, was similar to a lot of things that I experienced as well. And the question I had in mind, someone had asked earlier, and that is, how do you find not being a lawyer? Has that affected you at all in the handling of your mediations, in your understanding of some of the mediations you've done? Or is it that, well, you're not doing a lot of commercial mediations? Because admittedly, in some of the commercial mediations, you do have to deal with actual legal principles that have to be at least understood, not necessarily observed, not necessarily complied with, but certainly understood, to be appreciated. So how have you handled that? Or is it that you have kept your practice out of areas where those are what matters? I mean, that's the thing I'd like to know, Kathleen.
That's a very good question. Thank you. I see your question being answered in this way. A mediator isn't going to know everything about everything that they're mediating, and you do get to have a common knowledge base when you mediate a lot of the same cases. Like there's law that's applied in divorce cases as well that has to be understood at the mediation table. The clarity of the mediator's ability to clarify, is what's important. I can do any mediation. I can mediate from someone jumping off a 40th story building to a commercial mediation to anything, because I'm going to make sure the information is clarified. I'm going to make the person responsible for bringing the information to the table, making sure they clarify. And then we just put our brain power. I'm going to make sure, as their mediator in a commercial mediation, I'm going to understand that principle that they're talking about. And it's a matter of understanding the information that people bring to the table, which allows mediators to be able to mediate anything. I do bankruptcy lawsuit mediations online, and there's a lot of disputes. And it's a matter of, as the mediator, I say, so, sir, or so, let's use the word Glenn. Glenn, tell me one more time what that information is all about. And I make people make the information understandable at the mediation table. So I don't feel constrained that I'm not a lawyer, because when counsel's at the table, I rely on them for the information to be understood. And I check in with them as their mediator. Counsel, is this actually accurate by law? And they'll go yes or no or not quite. So I use all the resources at the table, but I also have my own understanding. If I don't understand something, I'm going to slow the mediation down until I understand it as well.
Okay, the important
I
part
hope that
is
answers your question.
that is, but the important thing is Mr. Akesanya has written this little on his blog, and he's specifically mentioned that coming on this show was like a life changer, game changer, something. You say something nice, Mr. Akesanya. What was it like? He said he thought about things which he had not thought about. Say something nice. This is promotion of the show thing, please.
No, I certainly don't mind promoting the show because it deserves to be promoted. It is true. Sometimes until you sit down and someone, especially someone who doesn't know you, someone who's totally out of your world, forces you to think through some things, then it brings out certain aspects of your life that you begin to appreciate a little better. You begin to see, oh, now I'm understanding. It's almost like going to sit in a place with a therapist or with an analyst or something like that. And, one of the things that I've always been concerned about, and in mediation, for example, is also that in as much as you want to have empathy and you want to listen, sometimes you have to be careful to listen from the point of view of the person's experience that you're listening to. And you have to avoid a tendency where we want to find a parallel for our own experience. Now, Kathleen, listening to you talk about your parents and then even your own divorce, and you then handling a lot of family cases, how have you handled this tendency? Now, let me repeat that sometimes you may be listening to other people, but you may just subconsciously or unconsciously just finding things that you relate to from your own experience or from your own point of view.
Yes, I'm going to answer your question differently. I'm going to say the greatest empathy a mediator can give at the mediation table is clarification. Clarification, clarification. I don't find myself feeling empathy too much with people. I'm too busy clarifying and making sure that I understand what they're saying and making sure they understand what they're saying. That's why I love reiteration. When I use reiteration, I use reiteration. Like 95% of my mediation practice is reiterating what people have said because of this. The empathy that I'm showing them is honoring their words. I don't want to do empathy with my feelings. I want to do empathy with my head. So I'm going to honor their words. So your brother kicked you in your toe and it hurts. That's what they tell me. I'm going to say, so your brother kicked you in your toe and it hurts. They're going to say yes. And I'm going to say, is there anything else? And they're going to say, yeah, I think my toe is broken. So now you think your toe is broken. Do you see the empathy I'm giving there? Do you see the clarification I'm giving there? Because they're stressed out. People don't even realize they're being reiterated. They just feel hugely validated because the empathy I'm giving is through clarification. And that's my main practice. When I clarify, when I say their words back to them with honor, they get to clarify themselves. No, I don't think it's really broken. I think it might just be dislocated. Oh, so it's dislocated. Yes, that reiteration practice, as much as anyone can muster it up using keywords at least, is the empathy that I give as a mediator through clarification.
Okay. Indrani had some. I was wanted to ask you something. Yeah, Indrani. Indrani, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Kathleen, no, I merely wanted to, let me say, reaffirm and endorse what you said about understanding, because, knowledge is power, but understanding is everything. And it's so refreshing to see that you're unintimidated by the fact that you have to mediate over a dispute that is a field that you're unrelated to. So, a lot of the traditional practitioners think, oh, I've got to understand contracts, or I've got to be this or be that to preside effectively, to advance the negotiation. And I say not at all, because if you understand the perspective, like you said, you will be able to, move parties and facilitate some kind of thing. So that is so exciting. And then latching on to what Mr. Akisanya said, to you, it's exactly what I was thinking, that every week there's almost like an affirmation that the thread that permeates our mediation and our mediator mindset is so prevalent amongst all of us, because we see the commonalities coming out from the different esteemed speakers, the contributions in the room. And it is so encouraging and and it just, makes me feel so blessed to be in this field and more passionate about it. And then Heidi, yes, I'm also a middle child, so there's something there. Do your research and write a paper.
But Indrani, at the same time, again, you'll have to, every time you say this, you have to promote the show saying this is a good concept and the thread is kind of coming through. There is something to it. We are getting there.
Yeah, Vikram, no, we're going to all combine our resources, both material as well as love-based, and send you the biggest possible thank you somehow or the other. Kathleen, you can be the lead on that, and then just tell us how to do it on LinkedIn. Let's spoil this.
It's okay. I got the point. Okay. Hey, Himana wanted to say, Himana, please. Himana, please, not putting a video on. Yes, Himana. You've unmuted yourself. You muted yourself.
Push that button.
Yeah. I wish I could. Yep.
When I clarify something for a contractor, their premise, the re-clarifying just makes it clear for everyone at the table. You can't do it too much because people get impatient. But when I ask for re-clarification on something, that benefits everyone at the table. Okay. And yes, mediators have to apply their brain power for sure.
Jimena's there. She unmuted herself. Jimena, yes, what we? Yep.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Kathleen, for all your words and your history and your life. It's really amazing. And I totally agree with you that clarification is essentially mediation. It's like emphasizing with the words of the other.
Yes.
It's just you cannot put like a feeling to the other words because it's not your feeling. Okay, it's what you say it in another tone, in another neutral tone. Or,
Yeah, they're under stress, and those are the words they muster up under stress. So if those are the words that they can muster up under stress, those are the words I'm going to use in the mediation, because I want those words clarified. And they also feel validated with that process, very much validated. It's a process that works, and I like things that work.
Jimena, you can put off your video. I think the signal will be better if you want to put off your video and say something.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I will put it.
Yeah, I think that'll be better. Yeah. So anything else that you want to ask, Kathleen? Or is it?
No.
Okay,
well, there's a lot, but we are so many, so yeah.
No, there's not a problem.
The time.
Not a problem. Look, we have time. Time is not an issue. Kathleen, time is not an issue, is it?
Nope, I'm good.
Time is not an issue. But okay, then maybe you'll have to think about it. But Heidi, I'll just come to you. Ryan is wanting to say something. I'll just come to you after that.
Thank you.
Yes, Ryan.
Hi, just to kind of contribute to the study going on, I'm a middle child myself. I have a younger brother, older sister.
My God, this study of yours.
Heidi, your research is happening in real time.
And to kind of build on the point of reiteration, I remember when I took my first mediation course in grad school at university, I took that approach quite thoroughly myself. You know, I always, in the simulations that we played up, I always kind of said in the introductory portion where the mediator is more or less explaining the process and everything, I would always just kind of reiterate that I'm going to keep notes and I'm going to reiterate for my own benefits.
I'm going to cut you off here. At all points, whatever you say, think it is Kathleen's show. We have to ask her. We're not going to talk about ourselves at all. Have you heard me talk about myself at all? No one knows anything about me. Yeah, this is her show.
You always talk about yourself. I want to hear what Ryan has to say.
Ryan, come on, okay, come on, Ryan, please. It's Kathleen's show. If she says it's okay, I'm okay with it.
It's my show. Yeah. Go, Ryan.
But yeah, I would always kind of emphasize that I'm reiterating these things for my own benefit to make sure that I can kind of keep things straight. Because where I come from, it's easy to, I don't know, for some reason, people are kind of quick-tempered. I'm from Oklahoma, so Southwest, things are, people can be a bit quick-tempered sometimes, and they jump to this idea that you're patronizing them. So I guess I always made an effort to place that emphasis that I'm doing this for my benefit so I can keep this process moving. But I do see the benefit in reiteration, because like I said, where I come from, people jump to that idea that you're patronizing them if you follow too closely, if I'm making any sense with what I'm saying.
Yes, so there's several ways to reiterate. Sometimes you just pull out a key word. Remember, when you're mediating, you're in charge of the process. As a mediator, I don't want to put anything provocative out on the table about anything. So I might say, could you please repeat that for my understanding? I'm going to take responsibility for what I want at the mediation table. And I'm not going to say, so it's for my benefit as the mediator a lot, because I don't want people to start to doubt me. We have to repeat things 3 times. So whatever, if it's provocative, Ryan, you want to stay away from it. You want to make your statement as the person in charge, get in, get out is what I say. And then when something erupts, you simply say, all right, so we've got a disturbance right now. As your mediator, I'd like to know how you would like to handle it. Are you still okay talking to each other this way?
Kathleen, I know you train a lot of kids and all.
I'm done.
You do a separate session with him. But who is that?
That's my sister, Debbie. We have the same birthday, 2 years apart from my father's side of the family, because actually I've been holding out on you, Vikram. I'm the oldest of 10.
Wow.
2 families. Yes. And Heidi, I'm sorry if that disturbs your research even more.
2 hours later, you throw, this is the bomb that you throw.
My father had his own set of 5 children. My mother had her set of 5 children. 2 of them they share. That's my sister, Debbie. She's an art teacher in Rochester, New York. She lives in Pittsford. My brother, Kevin, is also in Pittsford. My father's only son is also in Rochester. So that's Debbie. We look a lot alike. Put that picture back up. She's an art teacher and an artist. She goes to Leslie University in Boston and does some summer classes there, Heidi.
Heidi's going to come in a little later.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I think my sister Debbie and I are probably the most alike and of all my father's children.
But now Heidi, again, you'll come in a little later. Alexander, I just want him to, we need the Brazilian point of view also. Yes, Alexandre, is that how you pronounce it?
Thank you, Alexandre, but you can call me Alex, it's easy.
Hi.
Okay, hi, it was an interesting session. And I think one of the great things we gain when we participate at meetings such as Vikram are promoting is that we see different cultures. In Brazil, I'm a point out of the curve. I'm married for 31 years. I have 6 children. The Brazilian normal couple has 1 children, maximum 2. So I'm not a role model to talk about my life. So I was listening Kathleen very carefully. I was delighted with her story, her things. And I think that Mediator, in our job, we have a fight against our egos. We cannot consider ourselves as better than the one we're mediating. So it's difficult because we judge, we evaluate, we think, and we need to disconnect everything that is normal and natural from us to listen, not interfere, and help the others. This is what I could say in a few words, but I'm very glad to participate. Here we are in 1 p.m. So it's I have the full Saturday to
Alexander,
go.
good thing was that this is a family show and you were not going to tell us the secret behind those 6 children. I'm very happy about that. I thought you were going to go in that direction. Oof, that was a relief.
And you're also a role model with us, being married for 30 years, having 6 children. Yes, we can make a lot of ego calls when we're co-meeting, especially with another mediator. We can make a lot of ego calls. The way to stay away from that, I always teach people, please just be curious about your parties, curious about what they want, curious about what they mean. If you continue the curiosity of them, that will help stay away from these ego traps that we can fall into as mediators, even on the mediation table. Like, for example, when someone has an outburst, instead of getting offended as a mediator, we can be curious about what's going on with that outburst. And then we do a deep dive and to find out more about that. Please tell me more about what just happened. That protects me from having this, how dare you yell at me reaction at my mediation table.
Okay, Kathleen, the whole concept behind this is actually to get to that point. When you do that, what is the history behind it? Is there a history behind it, your experience? That is what we're getting at. So it's not about the process, what you do, but that process, why you do it, or what background does it have. That is how
I'm going to tell you, what I'm going to tell you, because I believe that everyone deserves redemption. That's what it is. Everyone deserves redemption, the second, third, fourth chance. And if this is their chance for redemption or renewal or do difference, as I like to say at this mediation table, I want them to have it, and I will fight like a bulldog to make sure they get it, both parties.
So
it's up to them if they want it. That's what's behind it.
So that is that religious upbringing that comes in, is that?
No, that's the fierceness for beauty and life for all people. Mediation is about love, Vikram. At the end of the day, it's about care and love and kindness for others. That's where it comes from. I believe people deserve second chances if they want to take advantage of it.
But that whole concept of spirituality and mediators and mediation, I think we have to do that also. That aspect is also something we need to work on.
Well, when you're putting your life aside as a mediator to listen to somebody else's life for 14 hours, that is about care. That is about kindness. That is about sacrifice of, gosh, I'd rather be doing this. So yeah, that would be a good show, because at the base of it, I see mediation as a form of love.
When do you want to, what day do you want to do it? What day is good for you?
For that topic, I will make any day work. Yeah.
No, because I do you think it's
do you
a
have
Sunday?
Anything on Wednesdays? Do you have anything on Wednesdays?
No, we do it on Wednesday. Wednesday is good. Because it's not a Sunday thing, is it? It's not a Sunday kind of thing. It's a midweek kind of thing.
Yeah, because we have people, that are atheists as well and agnostics, and they are still, we're all, no matter our spirituality, we're still offering care at the mediation table.
Okay,
so
perfect.
We can talk about it.
So Sunday, so Wednesdays it is. Wednesdays same time, but 7:30 p.m. India time. Because look, Wednesday afternoon, what I'm doing, I told you that in Conversation with the Beautiful Mind. So that series that is happening in the afternoon normally. So I think this evening we'll do this. I think done from next week onwards. You're doing that. Keep your time out. All of you. Yep. So Heidi's been wanting to say something for quite some time, and I haven't.
Yeah, the ship may have sort of sailed in terms of the conversation, but tell me if you think it's relevant to discuss. But I thought your comments on empathy and curiosity at the table were really fascinating. I find myself validating, not empathizing, but I think that validation of, I guess it's similar to what you were saying in terms of clarification, but I think it's, I'd just be curious about how you see those things in concert or not, validating someone's experience and clarifying the need for understanding whatever, the content or the history.
As we understand, yes, that's a great question. As we understand what they say and we clarify to prove that we understand what they say, that's just validating. It just is. It just happens. We have to make sure our clarity is right. Like when someone tells me they're angry, I never say, oh, it sounds like you may be a bit frustrated. Like some mediators like to tap dance around what the words people say. I won't tap dance. I'll say, so I hear that you're angry. And they say yes. And if I want to validate it, understand it even more, I say, so on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the greatest, what would you say your anger is or was at that moment? 10. Oh, so a complete 10. So now that's clarity. Now I understand them, which validates. So it connects. And you're doing the validation without even trying to. The clarity is the magic of the mediation in my mind.
Okay. Process later. Yemi wants to come in. Mr. Akesanya is also a pastor. But Wednesday, Mr. Akesanya is going to be spiritual, not religious, if that's okay with you. Seriously, he is.
Can I say one more thing? Can I just say one more
Yeah,
thing?
Heidi. Go ahead, Heidi.
Good Heidi, yes, please.
This is a public service announcement for the birth order research, which I thank you all so much. So I put it in the chat room, but I don't know if anybody's reading it. So it's
okay. We got you. We got the point. Yes. We'll take that research through. We'll promote it. We'll push it. We'll all post on YouTube or on LinkedIn.
Heidi has one more point and one more point. Go, Heidi.
If you're interested in participating, just put your information wherever you fall. If you can send it to me on LinkedIn. I've gathered what I can so far.
What I'll do is you make this something up and let's post it. I'll also post it. All of us will post it. It'll be like a form maybe or something that.
Yeah. No, I'm creating a spreadsheet on it, but I'll work on it.
Put it. Put it out on a Google thing also, and everyone can just go there and add it.
All right, we'll create a poll of some sort.
Yeah, we do something. Yes. Okay.
Right.
I want Excel spreadsheet lessons from Heidi because I can't do Excel. It drives me nuts.
Okay, so
happy to help.
Thank you.
Mr. Akesanya was saying something. Yes, Mr. Akesanya.
Yes. First, I want to say this. Ironically, yes, it is true. I'm a pastor, but one thing I do teach as a pastor is that people should be more spiritual and less religious. So I think it's important to point that out, Vikram, that I don't believe in being religious. I believe in being spiritual. And I
good you said that, Mr. Akesanya, because otherwise they would think that the church sponsors my show. That is where they
No. There's a lot of difference between
what's wrong with that?
spirituality.
I'm not getting anything. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not getting anything.
The Vatican sponsoring your show. All those
but you know, the interesting thing is that though, I'm not here to preach. I just wanted to again just connect with Kathleen's point on love, because we live in a world where when you speak about the word love, there are two things that almost immediately come to mind. First of all, there's love from what I call the mushiness of love, the mere sentiment of it. Or when you talk of love, you're talking of sexual intercourse, and people are making love and so on and so forth. But I find it very interesting that Kathleen brings out this idea of mediation being, I'm going to use my words now. If I'm wrong, forgive me, Kathleen, but like being an expression of love. And one of the things that I've also been talking about, talking to organizations, and I've tried to reach out beyond the mediation circle into organizations, and I've been encouraging what a leading HR expert in the UK calls love leadership, and the fact that people need to begin to look away from organizations as cost centers and profit centers, and head count, and and so on and so forth, and begin to see people as people and begin to love. So let there begin to be more love in the love place. Let's have a love approach leadership. And I've always believed that actually all those things that we are taught in mediation, empathy, active listening, validation, and so on and so forth, you really can't do them, can you, Kathleen, unless you have a love perspective. And it's both a statement and a question to you, Kathleen. You really can't do those things effectively, can you? Without love.
It's about brotherly love. It's about mutual respect. It's about love of diversity. All the things we're trying to accomplish as a world. And,
and not just the mushiness, not the Valentine, the red heart love.
Right. I think it's called phileo love. I forget how the Latin translation of it. And it's just common courtesy, regard, care, kind of like the old days when I was growing up. We had that. We had manners. It's social manners. Mediation is about social manners, where we really care about people and we want to help them solve their issues. And we're Miss Manners or Mr. Manners as the mediator, because yeah. So yeah, it would be great to develop these concepts and put them into the very pragmatic world of mediation. It would be nice.
I think that's what
because
we start.
I call it I call it mediating with.
We'll do that Wednesday,
together.
Mr. Akisanya. Wednesday, same time, 7:30 p.m. India time. We're going to start this spirituality, mediators, and mediation. We're starting that series. So please, you have to participate in. I know you're a busy man, but I think you need to take time out for mediation and for people out there who really need that love.
My life is mediation.
Yeah, but you've made yourself so busy behind that. I don't think we don't need that aspect. Okay, you stay busy, but that time you have to take out for us.
But think of it, it's holistic mediation, because you're a person, you have a brain and you have a heart as well. So when you're a mediator, your brain and your heart shows up at the mediation table. Everyone's a 360 person, so we should bring our wholeness to the mediation table and dive into the wholeness of the person sitting across from us. It just makes sense.
I couldn't agree more with that, Kathleen. I couldn't agree more with that.
But we're calling that show Spirituality, Mediators, and Mediation. Is that all right? That sounds okay?
Let's think about it.
We don't think so much, Kathleen. We don't have so much time to think. We do it. We do things. We don't think. Thinking is for other people. We'll change the name if it's not, because I think we'll stick to spirituality, because the fact of love and everything, let it flow from there rather than specifics, because it'll become too specific, this, that. I think the larger concept of the spirituality, I think. That sounds okay? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. Yeah. No hands are raised. So I'm.
If we think of something, can we get back to you?
Yeah, please.
Yes. I think that'll be the way to go.
But by that time, the show will be on air. By the time you get back.
Are you calling me a slow thinker?
I think you should have already got something out by now. You should have been out there.
Okay, on what I totally agree with Kathleen and also with Alexander from Brazil is that we have to learn from each other. I do trainings, but I'm for 20 years, I go to trainings because my evolution has never stopped and I'm always learning, and there is no one concept, there's no one mediation, but that's because I love this platform. It's so important that we stay open to experience, and that's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Olusola is here. Olusola, I think Mr. Akisanya, you know her. You want to say something, Olusola?
I'm just happy to be here, and I've been quite enriched by the experience of coming. I'm looking at mediation from new perspectives, which I think we're doing all the time. Like I wrote in the chat, I'm enriched. And then, of course, hearing Big Brother Yemi talk about mediation and love, and Kathleen as well. I mean, really, mediation is a sacrifice of love. I have heard people sort of try to tell me off during mediation, and I'm saying to myself, I can only be here because of love. I remember one lawyer trying to shut me up because he realized I was striking some very sensitive chords. But it was interesting because I kept telling him, I kept calming down and just talking to him quietly until his own client said to him, "Lawyer, why don't you let us listen to what she has to say?" And I'll never forget that day.
Very good.
Really, it's a sacrifice of love, like you both have said. And I'm looking forward to the mediation and spirituality.
Okay. No, I think, but what you said, I think we'll have to put love as part of that also. So it's going to be spirituality, love, mediators, and mediation. I think we'll have to do that because that word is coming up a little too much.
Yes.
Vikram, why don't we call it the spirituality of mediation?
But I'm saying I just thought maybe love can be added to it, but it's not about mediation. I think let's do it as part of mediators, because I've been trying to focus on the mediators, so we can do that. Okay. But let's see if we can be because mediation becomes is that because of these mediators. So let us keep it to the mediators. I think I'll be happy doing that.
Okay.
Then we can share our skills, just like what was shared right now, how we endure people when they are not so nice at the mediation table. We can share our skills with each other, because I have a lot to say about that as well.
You have lots to say about lots of
See,
things, Kathleen. I
I
have to
am
do one
Because
show
I'm
every day.
old. I'm older than you, probably.
Little bit, I think, little bit. Yeah, maybe a few tens of years. Yes.
Maybe the intersection between mediation, spirituality, and love.
Yeah, something like that. So please send it
Oh,
down.
that's
Just send it in a
wonderful.
message.
Yeah, Heidi, those are great words. The intersection,
Yes.
and that's it, actually what it is.
Yeah,
It
so
is.
this-
You know, you have that 5-way intersection sometimes in mediation, the 5 corners. You know, and I'm like, I'm blowing brain cells. You know, trying to keep up with my parties. You know?
But Heidi, please type that out and send it to me on LinkedIn. So
Sure.
let's. Indrani, please go ahead.
Thanks, Vikram. I just wanted to echo the sentiment about spirituality and obviously love. So I'm in there on Wednesday, and as a side from my experiences, spirituality simply for me in the final analysis is that there are no accidents in this life. Our destiny is there for us before we even have any idea, and where we arrive at in our careers, in our different interactions, in our moments, it is not accidental. And that is the spirituality, the love that mediation brings. So it's so encouraging to see that I wasn't the crazy one in the room being driven by love and not money, because money follows. If you put the love out, you bring the parties to mutual, palatable outcomes. You go off the grid to do these mediations, not sitting in aircon rooms, etc. I know you're going to shut me down soon, but let me not self-promote.
No, I'm very happy that you're saying this. Now you have to tell my wife this also, wife and daughter this also, that everything will follow.
Yes, no. Yeah, no, it's such an intrinsic value that comes out without, no book will give it to you, no theory, no teaching. Yeah. It's a natural evolution that and the other thing that I want to throw out there, and sorry all the men in the room, I'm give you apologies up front, but I think that women make far better mediators than men.
Okay, that's a direction we're not going into, Indrani. You did not say anything. We did not hear anything.
You're kicked out of the Wednesday class now.
No chance. We're not getting that.
Vikram, may I make a brief comment on that?
Please.
Indrani, if you're going to say that, then you must promise that you defend it. Give us tangible indications.
No, that was just me throwing my Saturday evening spoiler. There's absolutely no.
I suspected that. I knew if I asked that would come out. So that has addressed that. So
actually, women do have the ability to jump between right and left brain pretty quickly.
Okay, no, we're not going that direction, Kathleen. Yeah. It's not happening. Whatever you might say, it's not going there. Okay, I wanted
Wafa science. That's science.
Yeah, definitely. But I wanted Wafa to come in. She's from Malaysia, but she's also got culturally, I think she got a lot of mix there. Wafa, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. But I cannot open my camera now.
Okay, but you have to tell us. Yesterday, that day she was telling me she has lots of mixed things. There's some Arab something and some Malaysian, some Indian, a lot of mixture there.
Yeah, because my dad is half Malay and half Indian, and my mom is half Arab and half Indian. So that's why I got 3 mixed there.
Okay, so from that cultural background, what do you say about this spirituality and love and mediators and mediation? She's young. I mean, she's just but.
All right, because in my family we have a lot of culture, so that my dad, especially, he very structured in the family itself. So he planned every single thing that happened in the family, and we all be very independent from early age. So I'm starting from 19, I guess. My dad already tell me, you need to make sure that you know how to do your own decision, and you need to step out your steps into the business, because we are a business family. So in terms of the culture, the uniqueness, I believe that it is very interesting for myself, because I can learn 3 different things. And then the uniqueness is something that I know how different my family and other people that living in Malaysia itself. So sometimes I can see that other people in Malaysia, they are not having a very structured family version, but mine, I need, like, you know, like every single thing that I do in my life, I need to plan it. I need to organize everything because I've been learning this thing from time to time.
We'll do your
So,
show.
yeah.
We'll do your show, Wafa, later. We'll do your show. You have to tell us from the spirituality perspective, anything that you have to put out there in terms of the Malaysian experience and how.
Yeah.
Something on that.
Because I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm joining the meeting a bit late, so I missed the part of Miss Kathleen just now. But I need to rewatch this thing in the YouTube. So I will do.
Do that.
Well, interestingly enough, you know, nature is very orderly in its process, its seasons, its regeneration, and the death process to the new growth. So there's a lot of order, you know, around us in the world, and order certainly saves a mediation when it's going south. I always jump back into the process where the order is to save a mediation. It works every time. So it's an interesting blend of order and intuition in mediation.
But how is nature in terms of nature? What is your relationship with nature these days? Now that with your someone's laughing at like this is serious stuff.
I went shoveling. I got to shovel 16 inches of snow twice here in Tacoma, Washington State, USA. I was having a great time out there, losing my COVID 15 extra pounds, and I was enjoying it. The flakes were beautiful, all of that, yeah.
But how far are you from a water body?
It's a stone's throw away, the Puget Sound. If you look on the map, Puget Sound is beautiful here. Seattle, Tacoma area, all waterways.
Well, I think water body also is a good thing.
Up to Vancouver, Canada, water body, yes.
Heidi, we need the not mediation, but mediators part, which is just saying that intersection between mediation, spirituality, and love. I still will focus on the mediators for whatever.
Intersection.
Yeah.
I didn't hear what you just said. Oh,
I said you said mediation. I'm saying that mediation, instead of mediation, we're looking at mediators. So we'll have to just put it in that manner where the mediators are the focus area, because that's for me. For me that is the focus area. Everything else will flow from there. Like Kathleen said, basically the mediator is a very important part of the whole thing. And if that mediator brings in that spirituality there, the whole mediation process will work around it. So the mediation, I'm not so concerned about. I'm just more concerned about the mediator.
Got it.
That sound okay, Kathleen?
Yeah, it's interesting because you can look up, you know, the 7 deadly sins and then the 7 graces. It's kind of like how I see a mediation. A lot of people are in the low levels of life, and life is burdening them because they're down in those lower energies where they're jealous and they're angry and they're depressed. Those are all lower energies that push people down. So as a mediator, I always operate at the higher levels, and I watch people rise up to the higher level. As a mediator, I'm always positive. I always
keeping it there. But how do you actually end up keeping it there? That's the important part.
You keep it there a sentence at a time. You keep it there even because you're grateful. I thank people for everything in the mediation. Thank you for that outburst. I can see that was really important to you. I can see as your mediator on a scale of 1 to 10, that was a 10 moment for you. Would I be correct in saying that just now, or am I not? So I do it all the time. I'm always showing gratitude because remember, I said the feelings narrative is important to me, and I value and respect it, as well as the word narrative. Both narratives need to be clarified on the mediation table because whole people are sitting at the mediation table. It's just not a person with a box of words in their head that's sitting there. It's a person with real feelings, and things come up from people's bellies that outburst on the mediation table. I want that to happen. I'm grateful for that to happen. And I will clarify that as well.
Yep. Okay, so Mr. Akasene is saying something. Mr. Akasene, please. Mr. Akasene actually became Yemi for me. Earlier it was Mr. Akasene, but then I think there's a connect. When there's a certain connect happens, I think then Yemi comes in. But that is what is required.
Yes, when you say Mr. Akasene, it sounds sort of formal and reminds me of your Royal Highness or your Majesty.
And it creates that distance also. It kind of creates that distance also. I think.
Exactly.
I think.
No, I like Yemi. Yes. I find this continually interesting as we begin to find this connection between the person the what I call the virtues.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find that no matter how much training you get, no matter how many certifications you get, those graces, those virtues, those innate qualities need to be there as what I would call the predisposing factors. And then the certifications and the accreditations, if I may call them, precipitating factors. They help those things to come out and to be cultivated. And it's interesting listening to Kathleen. You've mentioned so many concepts and things that I don't even think about. But the moment you explain them, it's like, oh yeah, I know that. So why did she call it that? I could call it something else. But you find that the experience is common to all of us, and it's interesting. And the one thing that comes out of this is also that, yes, as mediators, especially if we live by mediation, you want to make some money. But I find that mediation is best when you're driven by the mediation and let the money come. Now, ahead of Wednesday, let me say this. Doesn't this remind you of seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all those other things get added? So that sort of
Okay, basically the pastor in you could not stop himself. The pastor had to come out at some stage. It's required. It's required. And we need you on Wednesday. We need you. Don't tell me that you're busy or whatever. We need you on Wednesday. We need to.
Yes, sir. I received that instruction in my old college. They say when the call is answered.
Yes, this is your call. This is your call. Yes. This is important.
That's kind of what you're doing at the mediation. You're seeking first as the mediator the kingdom that a person wants to have in their new forward, do different life. You're mining for that, as well as you're listening to their past, putting their past behind them, then you're helping them. And you are trying to understand. That's why it's a praxis. You are sitting there trying to understand what they see as their kingdom in their life, trying to understand it. And then you're helping them try to get it by doing things or stopping to do things at the same time. So it's this praxis that's super important, that we understand that we don't have to have all the answers. We have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. We have to be comfortable as a mediator with the unknown. We will find it. We will mine for it through the mediation process. And that takes confidence, and every mediator needs to have that confidence.
And Adriana wants to come in on that. Adriana?
Yes, I agree. I think that a mediator as a person has to be a person of integrity, and has to have a confidence in himself, herself. And previously I wanted to ask you, do you ever have a need for a co-mediator? And is it useful to you? And do you use it for some?
Yes. In Massachusetts, co-mediation is the face-to-face preferred model. I actually, when I train the co-mediation part, because it's difficult. Because in co-mediation, you have to pass the baton to the other mediator, and you've got to do it in these beautiful ways that are not competitive, that are cooperative. So that's actually a skill set that needs to be taught. It's good to have a co-mediator, to have someone else's take on the situation, to hear someone else's clarification process, and to put your heads together, with agreement writing. And then it's bad to have a co-mediator if it's going to be in the competitive spirit, or they're trying to topple each other and one wants to interrupt the other person. So teaching skills like switching pauses and apportionment time, those are improv science concepts that I use when I train, is very important. So co-mediators need to have a dance between them if they're going to be as successful as they can be in the mediation process for the parties. And you know what? When a co-mediator disagrees with each other, this is what I say. I say, thank you for that. I'm hearing that as well. And then I want to add, as your other mediator, as your co-mediator, I would also add this as well. So now there's two ideas or two thoughts or two for clarifications out on the table as opposed to one. So that's why I say it's a dance. It can be done very poorly where everyone's stepping on each other's toes, or it can be done beautifully like this amazing waltz. It just depends.
This is exactly what I've been trying to promote. That whole concept behind
The
that
waltz?
no, yes, that too. But that whole thought behind the Mediators Collective was this, that everyone, we should just be doing things together. And I mean, okay, that energy that two people will have, that they'll have to create themselves. I mean, you can't do that. At least put them in touch with each other. I think things will flow from there. I think they'll flow.
But you have to be ready. Let me tell a funny story. I was co-meeting with one of my volunteer staff, because I was also observing him. So we were co-mediating. He's a 92-year-old professor that used to teach at Brown University. Cool, calm, collected, a Zen person. We are co-mediating in a private session. He gets mad at the party across the table from us. Mad. Starts fighting with the person because he doesn't like them. And I'm like, what has happened to my Zen master? So you have to be ready. So you know what I did? And this is why I teach mediation training with improvisation skill sets. I turned to them. I said, okay, so I heard this from you and this from you. And how is it for you to, I started mediating my co-mediator with the party in private session. Until my co-mediator realized he had amygdala hijack and he got totally unprofessional and he ended up apologizing. And I'm meeting, well, thank you for giving that apology to our client, and I'm asking the client, are we okay to proceed forward now as co-mediators? Is the fight over basically? Are we done fighting, boys? And they were. And then we went back to the regular mediation. I was like, oh my gosh. So co-mediation can be a problem.
Can be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Can be interesting. Let's just say it can be interesting.
Yes, interesting. Thank you. That's a much better word. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Because Adriana is just about, she thinks she's become a mediator now, but she's, I'm sure, always a mediator. But now she's got formally into it only some time back. So what has been your experience, Adriana, on that?
Well, I'm still preparing, and as I said, I come from a legal branch, so I have to switch myself from this different kind of thinking in terms of who is right or wrong, and taking in this within some laws. And this is really, mediation for me is more humanizing process. It is more wide. You take into consideration lots of factors which in legal proceedings you cannot take into account. You have to distance yourself, and I think that it is more suitable for people in proceedings, taking them as human beings. So
yes, because in court you're a gladiator, in mediation you're a conductor. You're managing the symphony. If you go to YouTube and check out my videos under Kathleen, Ruane, Leedy, you can see how I teach, and maybe you'll find some wisdom in those videos. I think there's 3 up there now because I give webinars through Mediate Guru. So check those out and see if they help, because it is a totally different process. Mm-hmm. But I love counsel in the room as well. I love counsel with me.
Mm-hmm. Kathleen, can I ask permission to quote that?
I love counsel in the room. Absolutely. When you want to know
the statement before that of the litigator being a gladiator and the mediator being a conductor. I love that. I'd love to quote that.
That's the difference. Absolutely. And put it out there, because that gives a word picture for people that can really understand it. And guess what? Lawyers are supposed to lawyer. That's what they're supposed to do. So let's let them do what they want to do and what they're supposed to do for people. Because at the end of the day, some people just want their pit bull gladiator fighting for them to get their justice. Conducting the justice in the mediation process is just conducting the symphony. It's justice for all. It's power to the people. It's 2 totally different processes.
Okay. Well, Alexander wanted to say bye. Alexander, you want to say bye to everyone?
Thank you, Kathleen.
Bye.
Bye. I also write. I hope I wrote right in every language I found. I don't speak all of them, but I searched.
Yemi has he missed out? What has you missed out? So many languages in Africa. What else? I don't know how many other language. Malaysia, you must have missed out so much. So much. Don't even attempt. Don't even go that direction on language because there are too many around. So Croatian will be totally different. So I think.
Dobro dan, para Adriana.
Dobar dan.
Dobar dan.
Dobar dan.
It sounds beautiful.
Yeah. So I think that way we have a lot of languages around, but I think the concept is understood. Thank you, Alexandra. Today we did not need you for the translation. But you have to be there. You have to be there. No, he needs to be there because obviously we have people from Brazil and language is kind of an issue, but should not be an issue. So he's there for that. So you're a permanent feature on this.
Thank you. We speak Portuguese. So if anyone wants to translate something in Portuguese, I'm here to help Vikram.
Yes. And you have to do that every day, every time, every show. And on Wednesday, you also have to be there. Again, the translation will be important.
If I can say just what you wanted with this webinars in Wednesday, maybe some people would have, I don't know, some kind of not liking the theme of spirituality, considering it is too connected with religion, and if they are not religious, that maybe it will influence in another way. But I think that the best term is this love and kindness, and this is really it takes into consideration all what comes into spirituality, because spirituality is the essence of spirituality is love and kindness. So it is not so connected with religion as with love and kindness.
No,
and
we have to explain to people. We have to explain to people that spirituality is different, and religion is different, and they have to understand that. And it's my show, and my show spirituality will be there. Your suggestion taken, heard, but not accepted.
Suggestion denied.
Yes, but heard.
I'm not
got a full hearing.
Okay.
But I guess
just to explain because
I understand where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from, but
I love that subject, and I know what it means by spirituality. But maybe for some other people, just to explain, it is more wider than that.
Yeah, we'll explain that to them, because we definitely.
Adriana, religion comes from the Latin religare. Religare means reconnect. Because something was disconnected.
Yes.
And in every religion, what's not connected and must be reconnected is the relation with the human being and the creator. The name of the creator you can change, but the meaning is the same. You need to reconnect.
Yes.
But only thing is, Alexander, this is on Wednesday. Now you want to carry this up till Wednesday? We can do that, but obviously I'll be shot dead by my wife and daughter. But that'll be different. But we can easily go on. So you have to. Okay, Gilbert's also saying bye. Okay. But
I have to go.
This Wednesday thing sounds very good to me. Yeah, Wednesday sounds good to me.
Bye, Gilbert.
Yep.
Bye,
Rosalia, what do you think?
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye.
Nice to meet you.
Rosalia, what do you think of this whole spirituality thing?
I think it's a great idea. I'm very open to the whole spirituality concept. And yes, I do agree that it's love and kindness, but I don't see a problem with naming it spirituality or I think this group is pretty much open-minded. And the way I think is build it and they will come, you will attract
but
the
what
right
I'll be
audience.
saying, no, but I'll be saying, like Adriana said, now does spirituality encompass love and kindness? So we don't have to use those words, or do we have to use love separately?
No, I just wanted to
No, it's
explain.
okay. No, I understand. What I'm saying, in the title that we are putting, do we need to use the word love, but does spirituality take care of all that? Can we just use spirituality?
Can you get it for a second, please?
I think spirituality englobes it. It's all encompassing personally. Because love and kindness. We don't need to.
So by mentioning it, we might move away from it and making it saying that love is not part of spirituality. So I think let's just keep it as spirituality only.
Yeah.
Not get love or kindness into it, but otherwise
Spirituality of mediation.
Yeah.
Something like
not
that.
mediation.
No, I think
mediators. and
I
mediators.
think the last time some of the participants mentioned that also, trying to explain that it is not only for religious people, but for example, atheists, agnostics,
for
and
everyone, for
so
everyone.
and that's
Spirituality
why
is-
I'm explaining it in this way.
But they need to. Everyone has to be spiritual. I think you might not follow a
Yes.
religion or anything, but I think spiritual. If you don't have spirituality, then that whole concept of atheism and anything, we don't want. We don't want that. We want them to be spiritual beings as
Well,
mediators.
tied in with spirituality, mediation is the last place where people have free will. In a lot of cultures and religions, free will is a part of life. It's a spiritual concept. And mediation is the last place where you can sit where no one's going to tell you what to do. So the free will component of spirituality is alive and well there. So I think Wednesday is going to be a very interesting discussion.
Yes.
I'll be in El Paso, Texas by then, though. Back to my warm temperatures, thank goodness.
No, that'd be good.
Oh, are we done, everyone? What do we think?
You think with all these people are done, we'll be sitting the whole night, not a problem. But I think we'll have to just cut at some point of time. We need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whenever we're ready.
Well, Kathleen, I'd like to say thank you very much to you and to Vikram. I have to apologize, but I know Vikram will say I'm busy, but it's not about being busy, but I do have to go. And I look forward to being back together with all of us and even more on Wednesday. And I think that'll be a
Nice to
great
meet you
conversation.
again.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And I
Thank you.
enjoyed your talk as well.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. And thank you for that quote. I'm going to play on that. I'm going to be using that a lot. I
want to see what you do with it.
Yes, and I'm going to acknowledge you. Actually, I'm going to say Kathleen, Ruane, Leedy.
Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah, very nice.
Thank you.
Let me also tell you about the enthusiasm. Anil is right now at about, what time is it now?
12:50.
So he's still
12:50.
He has a presentation tomorrow. He has a presentation tomorrow, which he's
Yeah,
doing.
I do.
And he had to prepare for that, but he's left that and he's here. That is the kind of passion we have all over the world. And that is what makes me go. This is what makes me go. And you see that aspect.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right, thanks, Anil.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Nice talking
Bye
with
now.
you.
Yep. Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Time for coffee for me, Vikram.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
It was very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
so good
you.
to get to know everyone. Get to know you.
Thank you, Vikram, for inviting me.
Come, and you have to be there on Wednesday also.
What time is Wednesday? Is it the same time?
Same time.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks
Pleasure. It's a pleasure.
So, Heidi?
Yes.
You have nowhere to go.
I was just going to ask her. No, I do. I keep wanting to leave.
I want to talk to Heidi. Heidi, I trained at MWI in Boston with Josh Hawk, and I was in Barnstable, Cape Cod.
Keep the conversation going.
I'll
just come back. I'll just pick up something to eat and come back.
We don't need you right now, Vikram.
Yeah, exactly. I just get something to eat. You get.
I was wondering actually if you trained with Rita Pollack at all.
With who?
Rita Pollack.
No, I trained with MWI, and of course I was training in Atlanta at the same time, back and forth. And then I went out to Cape Mediation, and I mediated 100 cases of small claims in landlord-tenant. Then with MWI, I was in Quincy Court, and then I ran the program out of Worcester, Mass, as the coordinator of Family Services of Central Massachusetts for 13 months. I ran 5 court programs in mediation before I came out here. Yeah, a lot of experiences, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to hear yours. I'll tell you mine after.
I really found myself pushing back on the arrogance and pragmaticness of mediation and saying, hey, we're simply trying to have a conversation here. And when I was training actually in Cape Cod, I was actually told to stop doing what Kathleen, don't say that again. And I didn't know why for years, because I never actually cross-talked with anyone. I just said, I'm going to learn what everyone wants to say, wants to teach. I never entered into a conflict with any person that mentored me because I wanted to learn from it. So I learned around them and through them because some of them weren't good at what they were doing. And I wanted the mediation to settle. But what happened was I realized when I started to write this book last year that I was entering into the heart arena and everyone was uncomfortable with it. I was asking heart questions, like what mattered questions to their, to their essence. And everyone pushed back on it because mediation can be so pragmatic. The people that were mentoring me were like scared. They didn't know what to do. That's what happened.
Well, I think that's right. And I mean, I think it's a fascinating question, the whole conversation about lawyers mediating. I find that fascinating because I trained actually as a mediator while I was in law school. I don't know if you remember, there was a guy named Patrick Fear, and I trained through the Children's Hearings Project in Cambridge, my initial training. And he was from New Zealand, and they at that point were doing a co-mediation. I think he was pretty instrumental in bringing that to Massachusetts, actually.
Oh my.
And that's sort of, and it was interesting because mostly, sorry, I keep moving around, but I pulled my back
okay.
up, sitting on the couch. I keep sort of moving. So I trained as a co-mediator, and it was really immigration issues where there was a cultural sort of, conflict between parents and kids. And the way the mediations were set up was the younger mediator, was more relatable to the teenager, typically, someone between 14 and 17 or so. And then there were the parents, and there was an older mediator, and that's how we partnered. And that was sort of the model I learned, which was an awesome way to learn. And also, when I started practicing law, I sort of had a skill set that a lot of lawyers didn't have at that point. And there was a lot of resistance to it. I was young. I wasn't, as experienced as a lot of the older lawyers who I was working with. But over time, it became much more, it just more incorporated into my practice. And I founded something, it's called, I don't know if you want to look at my website, but it's called conciliumdivorce.com is the website. And it really sort of integrates a lot of these processes so that I've left litigation and work with people to help them restructure, is what I call it, instead of divorce, but restructure their families, and really sort of use mediation as sort of a model in a lot of that work. So it's sort of come full circle for me, but I'm so fascinated by what you do. And, I just love to continue this conversation because it's, your skills are awesome. I just think the non-lawyer mindset helps you in many ways. You didn't have to sort of untrain yourself from.
I didn't have to undo anything or take a hat off. Exactly. I could just learn openly and keep learning and keep learning. Yeah. I remember the first time I learned about true trauma in a mediation, and I had an observer with me. I was in Plymouth, and I'm like, gosh, this just isn't working. And she said, Kathleen, the woman's in trauma. I'm like, what do you mean? She said, well, she's in trauma. The more you clarify for her, the more she relives her trauma. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, oh, yeah. So, we're constantly learning new things. So I think every mediator needs to be trauma trained, because the clarification that we're applauding ourselves for is creating pain and agony inside a person that's in true trauma. So now I take them to their left brain and say, okay, let's make a list about what's important to us. So it takes them out of their trauma to the left brain, which starts to ease the trauma, right? So you learn these things as you go. That's why a show like Wednesday might be super powerful, because we all share our secrets with each other.
No, absolutely. I actually had a really interesting experience this week, a case I'd been mediating divorce. And the mom actually had a bipolar diagnosis, had a break, went into hospital, got COVID, 3 young kids. So dad takes over everything, and he's been sort of managing the house, working. Mom's been pretty marginalized for the year. And, they go to court, and the lawyers are just, wanting to depose her on all her manic episodes. And it was just like so destructive. And I sort of came in and said, look, she's their mom. She's their mom forever. And, the sooner you guys sort of understand how to sort of refunction as a family, the better. Not, it's obviously a different family than what you'd expected and what you'd maybe hoped for, but it is a new model of your family. Anyway, we finally get to this agreement. It was a few months of mediation. And at the very end, there was this whole tax question. And, he got really pissed that he thought she was getting sort of the better end of that deal. And said something in an email that was pretty caustic. And that was the validation question for you that came out of that. I sort of said back to him, I'm sure you feel like you've conceded this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure she feels like she's conceded that, like that balancing act of saying, I hear your anger, I hear your frustration, and I know she has it too. And he immediately, within minutes, came back with, I know I was just venting, I get it. And it was just very gratifying to sort of see that sort of in real time.
Can I come in here? Heidi, you went, you changed your clothes and you came back. Kathleen hasn't taken a break. I've gone, got something to eat. So we need, whatever, Kathleen, I think you need a break, don't you? What do you say?
Yeah, well, let me just respond. Yeah, I mean, we can end if we want to, for sure. Yeah, Heidi, it's that awareness of the validation of someone else's experience. And then as well, another skill is, hey, thank you for your gut honesty. I love the words that you use, Heidi. You're good with words. And I would have said as well, thank you for your gut honesty. And thank you for trusting me as your mediator to hear 100% of what you're feeling right now.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Kathleen, this problem.
That's the beauty. You throw that into the mix and then you go, and I'm sure the other side is experiencing the same thing. And it's a shared experience is what you were saying, which is amazing as well. It's just not you, buddy. The pain's everywhere.
Exactly.
Right?
It's bleeding everywhere.
Look, Kathleen, this issue does come up because we've gone 3 hours without a break for you. So I do understand. So
well, let's say goodbye. We'll meet again on Wednesday, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And I'll look up everyone's websites. It'll be fun.
Right. Sounds great. All right. Well, everybody.
All right.
Talk to you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Heidi.
Bye.
Thank you very much, Kathleen.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. It was really nice. Bye.
Good. I'm glad. Bye-bye.